Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Pirates. Taking advantage of the Empress, youth, she tricked her into singing about Conquest. Chapter 21. But contrary to expectations, Lin Yu stretched out a hand and grabbed the other end of the hammer effortlessly. The hammer that was full of momentum just now was motionless at this time. Keita pushed hard, but found that his hammer couldn't push it away at all. Fortunately, he has another heavy hammer. The moment he hit it with another hammer, Lin Yu's other hand had already grabbed another hammer. Boom! The first floor of the bar collapsed suddenly. Rubbles flew and there was a loud noise. Lin Yu kicked Keita out of the street. His chest was sunken, and his whole body was extremely miserable. This is Captain Quinta of the Hammer Pirates. How could a pirate with a bounty of 90 million belly be beaten like this? Everyone couldn't help but exclaimed when they looked at the huge body that fell. It was obvious that the Hammer Pirates were quite famous, and everyone recognized Captain Hammer. Who on earth can beat a pirate worth 90 million belly like this? Call out. Just when the passers-by were stunned, they saw a figure walking out of the crowd and kicked Keita, who was struggling to get up. Cough. Keita coughed, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from Keita's mouth. His chest collapsed, and he no longer had the strength to struggle. That person seems to be Huang Quan Lin Yu. Everyone was talking in low voices. A pirate with a bounty of 90 million was actually kicked to death by Lin Yu. The people around him, whether they were pirates or merchants, all retreated with fear on their faces. Ding! You defeated Keita, strength plus 721.2, agility plus 29.3, endurance plus 113.5, constitution plus 726.2. Lin Yu nodded with satisfaction. After defeating this hammer Keita, he received even more attribute bonuses than the devil fruit. Now Lin Yu has defeated 2 devil fruit users, one of whom has 1000 free attribute points. But after defeating Keita, the total attribute points obtained exceeded 1500 points, but the deviation of each attribute was too large and seriously imbalanced. At this time, he discovered that these free attribute points might be useful. Lin Yu frowned when he looked at the blood at his feet, then rubbed Keita's body and wiped the blood off his feet. At this moment, a book fell out of Keita's clothes. Lin Yu held it in his hand, a hint of joy flashed in his eyes. On the first page of this book, there are a few big words written. Armed Color Hockey Training Notes. Lin Yu looked at the notebook in his hand with interest. Although he didn't know who this notebook belonged to, it was perfect for him. He was worried that he didn't have a way to practice domineering, so he could just do whatever he wanted. In this world, domineering power is a power that people look up to. Although Lin Yu knew domineering power, he suffered from the inability to practice it, so that he suffered a big loss when he met a Kainu and had no choice but to run away. Armed hockey and wisdom hockey can both be improved through practice. The owner of armed color hockey can improve his personal defense and attack power, like an invisible armor. It can even be transformed into a power that can compete with devil fruit users, and it can even be transformed into the power of Logia, which can directly touch the entity of Logia devil fruit users. If he can rely on this notebook to understand the armed domineering power, then in the future, when facing all kinds of weird devil fruit ability users on the Grand Line, Lin Yu can fully display his power without being affected by the devil fruit ability. Suppressed. This was even more true when we arrived at New World. If you want to survive in the New World, you must master a kind of domineering power. After entering the New World, you will find that most of the people you meet have a certain kind of domineering power. Of course, domineering is nothing new in New World. The difficult thing is to see how far you can use your domineering sickle. Domineering is only the foundation, and Rayleigh, Roger's vice captain, bluntly stated that it is not easy to improve domineering at all. And no matter what kind of domineering force, it requires physical strength, which is related to the execution time, intensity and coverage. Of course, Lin Yu is not worried about this, because his body is strong enough, with physical strength that even giants are amazed by, which is enough to support him to display his domineering power. Hockey. It functions like an invisible armor. It can even be transformed into an attack to fight against devil fruit. The key to training is. Looking at the armed and domineering training notes in his hand, Lin Yu was calm, with a hint of solemnity and contemplation in his eyes. To be precise, these are just the key points of training armed color hockey, not a true cultivation method. It is still difficult to fully master armed color hockey. The note was not long, only 3 pages, and Lin Yu quickly wrote down everything. At this time, the patrol team from Spice Island had already arrived on this street. When they saw a corpse lying in the middle of the street, their expressions changed drastically. Huang Quan Lin Yu. Everyone in the patrol team immediately recognized Lin Yu, who had become famous recently. Although the corpses on the ground were horrific, they were still easy to identify. The burly figure turned out to be Keita. Could it be that Huang Quan Lin Yu and Iron Hammer Kuita were fighting? The captain of the patrol team was very nervous. He received an order from his superiors to pay close attention to Huang Quan Lin Yu's movements and report to his superiors. Moreover, the patrol captain also knew that people like Lin Yu were not someone he could mess with as a minion in his branch base. He just needs to report the situation and clean up the scene. Soon, the captain of the patrol team reported the situation here to his superiors through the phone bug. Soon, on the sea more than 10 kilometers away from Spice Island, 5 marine warships were heading here. Vice Admiral Ghost Spider. News from Spice Island is that Huangquan Lin Yu has appeared on Spice Island and has had a conflict with the Hammer Pirates. Lin Yu has killed the captain of the Iron Fist Pirates and several others. Important backbone. Quote. Standing at the bow of the ship, the Ghost Spider wearing an iron helmet nodded when he heard the words. As expected, Ghost Spider's eyes flashed coldly, and he looked in the direction of Spice Island, with a sneer on his lips. For a pirate who has never set foot on the Grand Line, I was transferred from the Marine headquarters to South Blue. This Huangquan Lin Yu, you are proud enough, but you'd better pray for a tougher life. Having said that, this task of losing my identity can finally be completed. At full speed, when we get to Spice Island, we will arrest Lin Yu. Ghost Spider gave an order. At the same time, many people were watching on the streets of Spice Island. Bonnie walked to Lin Yu. It's better now, we don't have to worry about the ship. She pointed at Keita and said, this guy's ship belongs to us. If you want a better ship, go to the shipyard in the Water City. The shipyard there is the best shipyard in the world, able to build a ship big enough to sail across the world. Lin Yu nodded and walked quickly towards the distance without even looking at Kuita and the others lying on the ground. Secretly, several marine agents were staring at them eagerly. Report, an officer shouted. According to the news from our spies, Huangquan Lin Yu has hijacked a ship of the Iron Hammer. The gluttonous girl, Chow Eli Bonnie, is recruiting sailors and boatmen from the Spice Island. It seems that she has already done so. Get ready to pass the upside-down mountain and head to the Grand Line. On the marine battleship, an ensign wearing a marine shirt was reporting to the Ghost Spider standing on the battleship. According to the information we have received, the T7 branch base, from the Lieutenant General to the ordinary soldier, is in a state of decay. Now, there are many pirate ships parked on Spice Island who want to go to the Grand Line. Snort. Ghost Spider snorted coldly. He ordered a colonel next to him, capture the Lieutenant General of the T7 branch and declare to take over this place. Yes, Lieutenant General, the colonel responded loudly. Although they are both lieutenant generals, there are still big differences between the lieutenant generals of the headquarters and the lieutenant generals of the branches. The lieutenant generals of the headquarters only got this position with the support of some hard power, while the lieutenant generals of the branch only got there through seniority. That's why Lin Yu didn't take action against the T7 branch, because there were no strong people there. A lieutenant general in the branch was only slightly stronger than the colonel in the main branch. But the fleet brought by Ghost Spider is as strong as clouds. 5 large ships slowly approached the port. This scene caused a commotion among the pirates in the port. First of all, most of the pirates paid the entry fee honestly. Of course, most of these entry fees fell into the pockets of the T7 branch. The pirates want to enter the Grand Channel, so naturally they don't want to conflict with Marine. So, on the surface, they are all serious businessmen, and they also have customs clearance certificates issued by the T7 branch. Give me the order. Bombard the dock. Sink all the pirate ships for me. Ah, Lieutenant General, are you talking about all the ships in the port? Many of them are civilians. A colonel hesitated. Ghost Spider gave the colonel a cold look and said, if the murderer escapes because of your hesitation, how will you face your own future? Do you have any objections to my order, Colonel? Just a cold gaze made the colonel feel like he had fallen into an ice cave. No, 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 I'll go give the order right away. This ghost spider is also a person with an absolute sense of justice, who will defeat any evil at any cost. At this moment, a large ship was docked in the port. This ship originally belonged to the Hammer pirate ship, but now it is occupied by Lin Yu. At the highest level of the battleship, in front of Lin Yu, there was a huge piece of iron hanging. He punched the iron one punch after another, and punch after punch. This piece of iron weighed at least 10,000 kilograms. It was hung with an iron chain as thick as a forearm. It was shaken violently in the cabin by Lin Yu's punch. With Lin Yu's current physique, even if he punched an iron block, he would still be in pain. But even though the pain was unbearable, he remained calm. His tough skin showed traces of marks under the constant attacks. The blood is flowing like water. To put it bluntly, the practice of armed color means constantly attacking or being attacked, and constantly exploring one's own potential. Armed color and domineering are related to physical fitness. And Lin Yu's body is already strong enough. All he has to do is to draw out the power from his body. Punch after punch on the iron block, Lin Yu gradually fell into a state of madness. He needs an outlet, full of aggressive desires. He focused his attention on his hands, and then spread it to his entire body. His skin tightened suddenly. Okay, this is how it feels. Punch out. Boom. The iron block still blocked the blow. But the beam on which the iron blocks were hung was overwhelmed and broke immediately. The iron smashed through the deck. Fortunately, the wood used in this big ship is extremely hard, otherwise, this big iron block would probably smash a big hole through the big ship. Lin Yu closed his eyes tightly. Armed and domineering. The darkness visible to the naked eye started from his hands, spread to his body, neck, head, and then spread to his legs, and feet. Until the end, every part of the body turned black. Full coverage of armed color domineering. Even though Lin Yu has extremely powerful physical attributes, the full coverage armed domineering spirit is still too much for him. Armed hockey consumes a lot of physical energy. This requires a strong body. It's no wonder that most people don't cover their whole bodies with armed hockey. Instead, they use armed hockey on their hands and feet, or wrap it around their weapons. However, this is someone else. If others can't cover everything, it doesn't mean that he, Lin Yu, can't do it. Lin Yu clenched his fists. The armed domineering energy covering his whole body is a great blessing for him. Strong physical fitness, born to be armed and domineering. He just felt a little overwhelmed. It wasn't that he couldn't do it, it was just that the burden was a little bigger. With the system in place, he believed that his physical body would only become more powerful in the future, so powerful that it would be daunting. By then, it would be fully covered with armed domineering energy, and it would be as simple as breathing. He believes that such a day will come. He looked at the big piece of iron on the ground that had carved a deep hole. I saw that there was a deep fist mark where he punched. The fist wrapped in armed domineering force is as hard as steel. Boom! A loud noise pierced the sky. A cannonball drew an arc in the air. It crashed into the harbor with a bang. At this moment, Chow Elibani suddenly opened the hatch. Battleships. 5 marine battleships. Lin Yu turned around. Marine's warship. Coming so fast. It seems that we have just arrived at Spice Island and they are already targeting us. Bonnie nodded and said in a deep voice, there are a total of 5 large warships. They should have passed through the Grand Route and arrived at South Blue. In addition, there are also warships at the South Blue Marine Base, and there are at least 2 medium-sized warships, 5 small battleships, 5 large battleships, plus 7 battleships from the South Blue Marine Base, a total of 12. Chow Elibani felt a faint worry in her heart. You know, in the past, when Marine issued a buster call, the maximum dispatched was 10 large warships. But this time, 5 large warships were dispatched. With this configuration, the team leader was at least a lieutenant general from the Marine headquarters, plus some elites. Moreover, the captains of the 5 large battleships are at least captains or above from Marine headquarters. Each battleship has at least 1,000 elite Marines. In other words, if it is led by a lieutenant general, plus 5 a colonel, plus 5,000 elite Marines, 5 elite battleships, plus the battleships at the South Blue base, and nearly 10,000 South Blue Marine soldiers. With this kind of fighting power, even someone as high as New World Shichibukai would have to shy away. For South Blue, this is a fleet so powerful that it can overwhelm everything, enough to sweep across all directions. Even if the pirates of the entire South Blue unite, they will still have to flee in the face of such a powerful fleet. It is almost impossible for a pirate who has not set foot on the Grand Route to make waves in the face of this kind of power. The appearance of such a large fleet in South Blue shows Lin Yu's status in Marine. Akainu is very worried that if Lin Yu can escape from him, how much threat it will pose to Marine if Lin Yu is allowed to grow up. Therefore, he decided to make a desperate move and sent a lieutenant general to nip this threat in the cradle. Lin Yu smiled and said, "Marine really thinks highly of me," and even transferred 5 large warships from the headquarters. Lin Yu casually picked up a shirt and put it on him, without even buttoning it, and walked out of the cabin, passing Bonnie, and came to the deck, looking at the sea in the distance. At this time, he happened to see 5 warships firing at the same time, and the shells flew towards them at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lin Yu turned around, ran quickly to the cabin, picked up Bonnie, and flew into the air with a whoosh. Hundreds of shells bombarded Lin Yu's huge pirate ship almost at the same time as Lin Yu flew out. Marine's gunfire was so fierce that it destroyed the pirate ships parked in the port in an instant. Under this overwhelming artillery fire, the ships in the port sank one after another. Lin Yu picked up Bonnie and rushed towards the shore quickly. He waited until he reached a safer place before putting Bonnie down. Oops, the opponent has 5 large warships, let's avoid them for the time being. When Lin Yu turned around to leave, Chow Ili Bonnie quickly called out. "Avoid it. Do you think it's possible? It's not me you should tell them to avoid, but them." In Lin Yu's view, these 5,000 elite soldiers and even a dozen Marine officers above the rank of colonel are all living experience. A long experience is delivered to your door, and it is simply unreasonable not to accept it. These are all good people. Hee. Bonnie, wait for me here. Lin Yu turned around and smiled slightly, aren't they just 5 large battleships? After saying that, he rushed forward. Chow Ili Bonnie yelled twice, but Lin Yu had already disappeared, and he didn't know where he went. The gluttonous girl stamped her feet angrily and could only rush forward behind Lin Yu. "If one day I die on the sea, it will be because of you, little fool." Chow Ili Bonnie shouted and rushed towards the gunfire. The bounty is as high as 140 million. Although Chow Ili is not good at frontal combat, she is not useless, otherwise she would not be able to escape Marine's pursuit. At this time, the port has become a mess. A large number of pirates jumped into the sea one after another and rushed towards the shore. The Marine's artillery fire was also extremely fierce. Almost a single salvo could sink a ship. After several rounds of shelling, the port was in a mess, with a large number of warship wreckage floating on the sea. Most of the pirates died under the shelling, and the rest could only go ashore. It seems that a lot of prisoners can be crammed into the Push City prison this time. The power of this round of artillery fire made Lin Yu see the ferocity of Marine. The strength of Marine is not only because of Marine's elite, but also because of Marine's technology. For example, the pirate ship Lin Yu was on before, they only needed 1 salvo to blast it into pieces. However, just as the Marines were showing off their power, a figure suddenly jumped out and rushed towards them. He was holding something in his hand. What is that? It's actually Huang Quan Lin Yu, this guy. This guy ran over from the sea. What is he holding in his hand? What is this? Many Marines were stunned when they saw this figure, but they quickly came to their senses and widened their eyes. Seeing Lin Yu's figure appearing on the sea, the Marines also reacted one after another. Don't let him get close. The target is Huang Quan Lin Yu, fire. The cannon on the battleship began to move and was aimed at Lin Yu. Following the commander's order, the cannon opened fire immediately. Bang, bang, bang. The huge black hole's muzzle was spitting out tongues of fire, thick smoke was everywhere, and countless shells poured down like a torrential rain, pouring towards Lin Yu who was flying rapidly on the sea. It directly enveloped the world. On the battleship, Marine Lieutenant General Ghost Spider was holding a cigarette. Looking at this scene, he couldn't help but exhale a puff of smoke. HMPH, a grass bandit is a grass bandit. He dares to charge on the sea. Does he really think that our cannons are just decorations? A sneer curled up at the corner of his mouth. But, almost in an instant, the waves blown up by the shells suddenly fell down like a mud cow entering the sea. The smile on Ghost Spider's face suddenly stiffened. Because, Huang Quan Lin Yu is missing. No way. How is this possible? Where are the people? Where did they go? You won't be blown to ashes. The Ghost Spider was shocked, and the marine gunners even found that they had lost their target. Heaven! The Ghost Spider raised his head and discovered to his surprise that Lin Yu had risen into the sky. At this moment, Lin Yu had dived onto the warship from a height of several hundred meters. Only then did the Marines see clearly what Lin Yu was holding in his hands. A huge piece of iron, locked by a chain. Does he want to? Ghost Spider stood up suddenly, his face full of shock. Not good, but now that I think about it, it's too late. The battleship's guns couldn't hit Lin Yu at all. Shooting. The officers began shooting. Thousands of musket bullets roared out. Lin Yu raised his hand and directly held the iron block in front of him, while he hid behind the iron block. Clang clang clang. The bullet hit the steel, but it couldn't shake Lin Yu at all. Still accelerating, the friction between metal and air made a piercing scream. Lin Yu held an iron block weighing tens of thousands of kilograms and fell freely from an altitude of more than 200 meters. The impact was enough to penetrate a wooden warship. The Marines didn't have time to react. In midair, Lin Yu suddenly kicked out. The speed of the big iron block has increased again. This time, the speed of the iron block exceeded the cannonball. Or, this is a cannonball. A huge solid cannonball weighs 10,000 kilograms. Bang! The iron block broke the plank. Sawdust is flying. The huge impact force continued to rush forward with the iron block. Dang dang dang. It smashed through several windows in succession, and finally smashed directly into the bottom of the warship, smashing a large hole through the large warship. Boom! The seawater poured in quickly. Everyone could clearly see that as the water poured in, the hull of the warship began to slowly sink. At the same time, Lin Yu's figure was also revealed in midair. He was ready to charge, targeting the second battleship. Fire! Fire! On another battleship, the Marines saw Lin Yu rushing over and were frightened as they looked at the rapidly sinking battleship behind him. Densely packed bullets flew towards Lin Yuki. Moonwalk! A loud shout. Lin Yu drew a Z-shaped arc in the air and dodged Marine's shot. Then keep rushing forward. Kill! A Marine colonel held a long sword and roared towards Lin Yu. The long sword swung hard, brought up a sword energy, and struck towards Lin Yu. Lin Yu had no intention of dodge at all. He raised his hand and his fingers became claws. The next moment, he grabbed the oncoming sword blade. Lin Yu's hands suddenly became pitch black and glowed with light. The sharp sword blade couldn't cut open his hand. Armed color dragon claw. Lin Yu shouted loudly. That stainless steel giant sword was directly crushed into pieces by him. Snap! Lin Yu clenched his fists. When the colonel was shocked, Lin Yu kicked the colonel. The colonel flew backwards, blood spurting from his mouth. Lanjiao! Lin Yu shouted loudly. A huge slash flashed past the battleship. The entire battleship's mast was cut into two pieces by this, and the cut was as smooth as a mirror. Moonwalk! Another loud shout. Whoosh! Lin Yu flew to the mast and easily lifted a broken mast. Armed color, entangled. The entire huge mast instantly became pitch black. It was as hard as iron. Break it for me. Lin Yu's huge power smashed the mast directly into the battleship, and the ship broke out instantly. The bottom of the boat is broken and penetrated. Everyone on the boat gasped. Another battleship is going silent. Even Lin Yu was a little out of breath at this moment. Destroying a battleship consumes too much. Even Lin Yu was out of breath with the continuous use of Marine 6 and armed colors. Continuous use of armed color hockey puts a huge load on his body, especially when the armed color hockey wraps around the mast. He can clearly feel that his strength is rapidly passing away. It seems that my physical body still needs further strengthening. As for the source of the enhanced attributes, the first one to be operated on was the point-giving boy in front of me, Marine. Lin Yu took a breath. Call. Continue to rush towards the next battleship. Moonwalk. In an instant, Lin Yu once again flew over a battleship. He's approaching us. What can I do? Seeing Lin Yu destroying 2 warships in succession, all the Marines on the warships looked horrified. But, when Lin Yu flew over the warship, a sharp sword energy came towards him, and it was about to hit him hard in the chest. Not good. Lin Yuhan's hair stood on end. If he was hit by this sword energy, even his powerful body would definitely not be able to withstand it. Facing this sudden change, Lin Yu took his time. Moonwalk, moonwalk, 2 shouts, 2 moonwalks. Like a zigzag lightning, piercing the sky. Lin Yu paused for a moment, and had a hint of enlightenment in his heart. This scene is very similar to when he first awakened his armed color Haki. This should be, seeing and hearing domineering. Lin Yu realized it with concentration. And just then, the sword energy soared into the sky, straight into the sky, and disappeared. What a powerful sword! Lin Yu opened his eyes, and a strange color flashed in his eyes. He already knew who the person who drew the sword was. He looked at an officer wearing an iron helmet. The only one who can use this kind of swordsmanship and appear in this form is the lieutenant general who participated in Ohara's Buster Call, Ghost Spider. Lin Yu also knew something about Ghost Spider. In addition to Ohara's massacre, he and General Kizaru also used sea tower stones to handcuff Marco of the Whitebeard pirates. Lin Yu looked at the bow of the ship, the figure wearing a righteous shirt with the rank of lieutenant general. The Ghost Spider is holding 2 swords and his face is as gloomy as water. It's the lieutenant general who took action. We are saved. The Marines didn't notice how the Ghost Spider appeared here, but when they saw the terrifying attack of the Ghost Spider, they couldn't help but show a look of horror. In addition to shock, they were even more awe and admirable. In their eyes, Lin Yu's strength is much stronger than most of them. It is terrifying. It is almost impossible to suppress Lin Yu with their strength. The only one who can do this is, only Marine Headquarters sent Lieutenant General, Ghost Spider. As the Lieutenant General of Marine Headquarters, Ghost Spider is naturally famous, and is also famous in the New World. Countless pirates have changed their expressions and become frightened after hearing the news. It should be a sure thing to deal with a guy like Lin Yu who has not yet embarked on the great voyage. With this Ghost Spider on the warship, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did everyone feel relieved. Huang Quan Lin Yu, I underestimated you. Ghost Spider glanced not far away. Lin Yu was standing on a piece of broken battleship wreckage. The Ghost Spider's expression was extremely gloomy, even faintly angry. 2 large warships were lost. This kind of loss, even on the Grand Line, is a huge loss. Ghost Spider never thought that in this South Blue, there would be a person who could sink a battleship with one blow. As he spoke, the Ghost Spider took a step forward. A black shadow shot straight into the sky. Go straight to Lin Yu. Holding 2 swords in hand, he slashed Lin Yu straight with an unstoppable force. Shave! Lin Yu shouted loudly. Lin Yu's figure flashed. One of Marine's 6 shaving styles was suddenly displayed on Lin Yu. The Ghost Spider slashed with his sword, but only hit an afterimage. At the same time, Lin Yu's figure suddenly flashed and appeared on the right side of the Ghost Spider. He jumped towards the Ghost Spider and swept it with a sweep. Ghost Spider sneered, raised his sword, and blocked it with his sword. Clang! Lin Yu's instep touched the edge of the sword. There was a sound of gold and iron. A huge force came from the blade, shaking the Ghost Spider back again and again. This power is so powerful. Ghost Spider was shocked. He was a master of body training and had a very strong body. This Lin Yu's physical body is probably no less impressive than his. Such a strong armed color. Ghost Spider's eyes fell on Lin Yu's feet. A kind of armed domination that can compete with the sword, which is enough to surprise the Ghost Spider. If you are angry because of the loss of 2 large battleships, then I apologize to you, this is just the beginning. Lin Yu glanced at Ghost Spider and said calmly. Ha, evil will eventually be eliminated by justice. The Ghost Spider sneered sinisterly. Justice. Lin Yu showed a sneer at the corner of his mouth and glanced at the port. All ships were blown to pieces, whether they were traders, civilians, or pirates. Is this what you call justice? If it is, then I'll kill you for your justice. The Marine bombarded the port indiscriminately. Although it attacked many pirates, it also displaced civilians and traders and eventually became pirates. Pirates are unreasonable, but what about world government? In the so-called Holy Land of Mariajoya, the crimes committed by the celestial dragons are probably more than 10 times that of all the pirates in the world combined. They imprisoned tens of thousands of slaves, all for the play of these so-called righteous people. If we can't reach an agreement, let's not talk. For Lin Yu, being an enemy of Marine is good news for him. After all, killing a Marine general can make his strength further. To him, Marine is his prey, his attributes, his long-legged experience, and the good guy who gives points to the boy. Take Ghost Spider for example. This is a lieutenant general who is good at physical skills. If he is beaten down, Lin Yu's physical fitness will be greatly improved. The two fought together again. As his fighting skills improved, Lin Yu's close combat skills became more and more proficient. A black light flashed on his fist. His fist is like a hammer. On the other hand, Ghost Spider is also very good at armed color and domineering. Shave, shout loudly. Lin Yu also mastered the use of Marine 6 styles. In a flash, he was already behind the Ghost Spider. Then, his right leg slashed violently. Shave, Ghost Spider also shouted. As a Marine Lieutenant General, Ghost Spider is also a Grandmaster Marine 6th form. Lin Yu slashed with one move, but only hit an afterimage. At the same time, a Ghost Spider also appeared next to Lin Yu. Double sword style. Fujiao. The Ghost Spider's two swords combined, cut down with one sword. Lin Yu did not retreat, but rushed forward. Take advantage of yourself. As soon as his body twisted, his fist hit him. Boom. Laugh. The two are instantly separated. Ghost Spider's sword directly broke through his armed domineering force, and a blood mark appeared on Lin Yu's shoulder. At the same time, Lin Yu's fist also knocked Ghost Spider away. Bang! The mast of a battleship broke. Ghost Spider covered his chest, a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth, and climbed up from the ground. How can his physical body be so strong? Ghost Spider looked at Lin Yu with a solemn expression and was speechless. With this sword strike, he can easily cut through even steel. But now, all he can do is draw a bloody mark on the opponent's body. Of course this is due to his domineering armament, and it is also due to the fact that he was hit by Lin Yu first and was unable to exert his full strength. However, Lin Yu also used his flesh and blood body to fight against the sharp sword. This alone is enough. The Ghost Spider is in trouble. Lin Yu is not simply strong. If it were a pure competition of strength, Ghost Spider thought he might not lose. But Lin Yu is powerful in all aspects. Strength, speed, endurance, physique. With the strength of Lin Yu's body, even if he doesn't use his weapons, it would be difficult for ordinary people to break through Lin Yu's extremely hard body. And Lin Yu, who has armed domination, is like wearing a piece of armor for himself. Lin Yu wiped the blood on his body, and what shocked Ghost Spider was that the wounds on his body began to heal slowly. This is the power of the physical body. Not just strength, but immunity, and self-healing ability. This is an all-round transformation, a transformation of life. People have begun to transform into new human beings. Physically tyrannical. This is no joke. Lin Yu even doubted that one day, when his body is strong enough, will he be immortal. Just like a novel about cultivating immortals, you are reborn with a drop of blood and become immortal. This guy, what kind of monster is he? The Ghost Spider breathed heavily and felt a little bit of fear in his heart. The wound that was finally inflicted on this guy was restored to its original state in such a short period of time. This is simply incredible. He could feel that it was not a devil fruit ability. But, Lin Yu's own resilience. What a monster this is. Ghost Spider's eyes widened. At this time, how could Lin Yu give him a chance to react? Taking advantage of the moment when Ghost Spider was distracted, he rushed forward. At the same time, a layer of armed color suddenly appeared on Lin Yu's body. Armed and domineering, full body covered in armor. Lin Yu stepped on the iron plate, and his whole body was like a stream of light, coming in an instant. Fist, elbow, shoulder, knee, foot, kick. Under the continuous attacks, the Ghost Spider was already unable to withstand it. At this moment, Lin Yu was simply a war machine. Cut the mess with a sharp knife, full of murderous intent. Boom! Lin Yu punched Ghost Spider in the face with a loud bang. The Ghost Spider's two swords were stretched out in front of him. Kankin blocked an elbow strike. However, it still failed to block the last kick. Roundhouse kick. Boom. The ghost spider was kicked away. He felt as if his body was being torn apart. Blood spurted out from his mouth. Boom. The battleship suddenly fell apart. Lord Lieutenant General. All Marines exclaimed. At this moment, Ghost Spider stretched out his swords and stood up again. He didn't even wipe the blood from his mouth. You mooed me off, South Blue's little brat. Looking at Lin Yu with a ghostly look, his voice was cold. Do you know why my nickname is Ghost Spider? That's because. As soon as he finished speaking, an inexplicable aura emanated from him. His hair that was spread over his shoulders and back suddenly flew up one by one. The hair floating in the air was entangled one by one, and finally turned into spider legs. There are 6 black spider legs. The next moment, 6 spider legs pulled out 6 long swords from the ghost spider's back. Plus the previous 2. 8 sword style. Life returned. Seeing the strange changes in the ghost spider, Lin Yu's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. Life is returned, this is what it is. This is a top-notch physical technique that allows you to control your body, hair, and even internal organs at will. Good eyesight. You have never even been to the Grand Line, and you know what the return of life is. It really surprises me. The ghost spider sneered, ferocious and terrifying. At this time, Ghost Spider's ultimate move. Even among lieutenant generals, Ghost Spider's strength is definitely considered powerful. If he was given another 10 years to wait for his strength to improve further or obtain a devil fruit, then it would not be impossible to become a marine general. In order to defeat Lin Yu, this ghost spider has no reservations. This is the return of life, Lieutenant General's famous trick of return of life. A marine colonel looked at the spider-like ghost spider with 8 swords spread out, with a hint of awe in his eyes. This is Lieutenant General Ghost Spider's trump card. Once it is used, this battle will be over. All the marine officers looked at this scene in awe. On the battlefield, Ghost Spider's hair is completely messy. It's like really turning into a spider. Before, what you felt was the double sword style, but now, I will let you know what fear is, and let you feel the fear of the 8 sword style. The ghost spider has a ferocious face and steps out in one step. It's an honor for you to die under this attack. Die for me. The 8 swords of the ghost spider come out in unison. Charge directly. There are no flaws. Lin Yu's armed domineering energy has covered his whole body, especially his arms and legs, which are concentrated to the extreme. The sword energy is everywhere. Lin Yu resisted with both fists, which became even more difficult. Tisk tisk tisk. 8 sword lights turned into a dense sword net, covering Lin Yu. Even if Lin Yu uses paper painting, it is impossible to completely avoid it, and he will even be hit occasionally. Even with the protection of the armed domineering force, the sword light still scratched his skin, leaving blood stains one after another. A moment later, Lin Yu had more than 10 wounds on his body, dripping with blood, shocking. The ghost spider takes advantage of the victory and pursues it. Ah, go to hell. With 8 swords coming out at once, the ghost spider is like a mad demon. My belief is to fight for justice. And your fate is to fall under justice, so don't make any unnecessary resistance. Justice? Are you kidding me? Lin Yu's body was stained with blood, Madara Madara. However, his face was indifferent, without any emotion. Very calm, very peaceful. It's terrifyingly peaceful. Punch after punch to resist the ghost spider's sword light. He seemed to have entered a state of selflessness. The world slows down. Even the waving movements of the ghost spider were slowed down. Such a scene, I don't know when it happened. The swords fell on Lin Yu one after another, causing the ghost spider's movements to change from crazy to slow motion. That stream of light passed through the void, and Lin Yu could see it clearly. This is seeing and hearing color. Lin Yu's heart is like Shisui, calm and calm. Life and death. He can hear it, see it, and feel it. This is the domineering effect of seeing and hearing. What is this? Seeing and hearing is domineering. Ghost Spider also noticed this. He couldn't believe it. If Lin Yu knew how to smell domineering, he would have used it long ago. Therefore, the fact that he has not used it can only mean one thing, that is, he did not master the hockey of wisdom and information before, but realized it in battle. This Lin Yu can actually feel the domineering power of seeing and hearing from the battle. Such a person. It is simply rare and unique. I didn't expect that just a South Blue, there would be someone who could understand the meaning of seeing and hearing in battle. After Lin Yu realized the domineering power of seeing and hearing, Ghost Spider knew that his moves no longer had any advantage at all. In this state, Lin Yu could clearly see every move of the Ghost Spider. Even time seems to have slowed down a lot. Lin Yu's domineering attitude shocked Ghost Spider. The consequences of being distracted at this life and death moment are self-evident. Lin Yu suddenly turned around and appeared on the side of Ghost Spider. Suddenly, he stretched out a hand and grabbed the Ghost Spider on the shoulder. Then comes a knee kick to the top. Boom! Knee hit the Ghost Spider in the chest. Followed by, drop your elbows. Boom! The battleship deck shattered. The next second, the Ghost Spider had fallen on the deck. Before the Ghost Spider could react, Lin Yu stepped towards him again. It seems, your justice ends here. Snap! The crisp sound of bone cracking resounded throughout the entire deck. There was deathly silence on the entire battleship. Ding! You defeated Lieutenant General Ghost Spider. Strength plus 1131.2, Agility plus 1890.3, Endurance plus 739.6, Constitution plus 599.8. The Ghost Spider was directly killed by Lin Yu. The moment he heard the system sound, Lin Yu began to analyze the attribute points he obtained. There is no doubt that after reaching a certain level, most people's strength, agility, physique, and endurance will become unbalanced. In other words, they will not be balanced. Everyone has their own strengths. Take the previously defeated Keita, for example, with 720 strength points and 28 agility points. This is a serious case of partiality. Although Ghost Spider's partiality is not as serious as Kuita's, his agility is unquestionable. In terms of agility alone, even Lin Yu is inferior to him. It was precisely because of this that the Ghost Spider was able to suppress Lin Yu for such a long time, until Lin Yu realized the domineering power of seeing and hearing before killing him. Lin Yu pulled up his personal information. Host, Lin Yu. Strength LV3, 3156.4. Agility LV3, 3241.3. Endurance LV3, 2334.5. Physique LV3, 2690.8. Free attribute points, 1000. Skill, fighting skill LV2, 60%. Shaving LV2, 25.3%. Iron LV2, 66.1%. Lanjiao LV2, 67.2%. Moonwalk LV2, 59.6%. Paper painting LV2, 64%. Fingergun LV2, 67.1%. Armed color domineering LV1, 58.6%. Informed and domineering LV1, 11.8%. Because after the attributes are upgraded to level 3, ordinary marine soldiers can no longer provide any bonus to Lin Yu, and the experience value decreases geometrically. No matter how many ordinary marine soldiers are, it will be a drop in the bucket. Even with a military rank of major or above, the bonus given to Lin Yu is only half of the previous one. Therefore, if you want to get a greater improvement, you still need a lieutenant general like Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider itself is a master of physical skills, and his body is extremely powerful. With its bonus, Lin Yu's strength can almost be doubled. Defeating such an opponent is risky, but the rewards are even greater. Lin Yu took a look at his own attributes. If the various attributes of the Ghost Spider can reach an average of more than 1000, what if it is replaced by a peerless strongman like Garp who can fight Blackbeard with only physical strength and domineering power? In Lin Yu's view, even 10 Ghost Spiders may not be Garp's opponent. Could it be said that Garp's attributes have exceeded 10,000? After thinking about it, Lin Yu felt that this possibility was becoming more and more likely. With only physical skills, he can compete with Devil Fruit users, and he is also the kind of strong person who has developed the fruit ability to the extreme. What a terrifying physique. You know, Garp is from the same era as Whitebeard. During the war, if Sengoku hadn't stopped him, Akainu would have been hit in the head by Garp's hammer. Lin Yu estimated that his physical fitness was still not as good as General Akainu. After all, Akainu is one of Marine's strongest combat powers, not to mention he also has a powerful Logia Devil Fruit, Lava Fruit. Therefore, if you want to defeat a Kainu without relying on devil fruit, you must first practice armament hockey to a certain level. If not, Lin Yu might not even be able to touch the other party's body. Secondly, it is the physical body. Powerful Logia fruits like the lava fruit are simply bug-like. To make up for this, the physical body must be much stronger than a Kainu. And there must be no partiality. However, this is not difficult for Lin Yu. There is a system. As long as he is given time, he can find more strong people and defeat them one by one. His attributes will continue to grow until he reaches the top of the world, peak. Lin Yu picked up a long sword from the corpse of the ghost spider and swung it into his hand. A bloodstain appeared on Lin Yu's arm, and then, in less than a minute, he saw that the bloodstain slowly healed and scarred. Lin Yu has never seen such a recovery speed in anyone. Take Garp for example. If his physical strength could allow him to recover from his injuries to this extent, wouldn't it mean that Garp's ability to recover from injuries has reached a point where he is almost immortal and invincible? However, this is obviously impossible. In One Piece, the only one with near-immortal power is Kaido of the Four Emperors. Even if he commits suicide, he will not die. However, Lin Yu guessed that this was probably not his own ability, but the ability of the devil fruit. At this time, Lin Yu looked thoughtfully at the injuries that had fully recovered. Perhaps the effect of this quantitative attribute system is not simply to improve physical fitness. Quantitative attribute. Lin Yu took a closer look at the system instructions. In other words, is this a qualitative sublimation of my entire life? Rather than simply improving my physical fitness. The more Lin Yu thought about it, the more likely it became. The system had explained before that by defeating an enemy, you can absorb the enemy's attributes quantitatively and use them for your own use. The attributes mentioned here do not only refer to physical fitness, but all in all aspects of attributes. It's just that they are all absorbed through the quantification of thinking attributes, and each time the improvement is not obvious, he can't receive it, just like boiling a frog in warm water. In this case, Lin Yu took a look at the attribute points. What he needs to do is to strive to maintain the balance of the four dimensions. Lin Yu pondered for a moment and added 670 of the remaining 1000 free attribute points to endurance and 330 to physique. After such distribution, his endurance and physique exceeded 3000 points. As for skills, system, how to upgrade skills. Dear host, the upgrade of skills is related to proficiency. The higher the proficiency, the higher the level. Lin Yu suddenly realized that this was indeed the case. In this way, if Lin Yu wants to quickly improve his armed domineering, he must improve it through exercise, or in other words, as long as he uses it regularly, his proficiency will naturally improve. Moreover, using armed color hockey puts a huge load on the body and is also a form of exercise for the body. Even without much progress, Lin Yu is still working hard to adapt to his own strength. Distance. On the other two battleships, all Marines stared at the battleship where Lin Yu and Ghost Spider were. At this time, the battleship had been quiet for a minute. No movement. Is this the end? Lieutenant General Ghost Spider should have suppressed Huang Quan Lin Yu, right? That's right. Lieutenant General takes action. Isn't this Huang Quan Lin Yu who knows the heights of the world not easy to capture? The scene where there was a crazy fight just now is now completely silent. Everyone's eyes fell on that warship. Because of the broken deck, Lin Yu's kick almost caused the Ghost Spider to step into the battleship. Coupled with the obstruction of the sails, the two warships in the distance could not clearly see the battle situation. However, at this time, someone discovered that the mast on the battleship had moved. Huang Quan Lin Yu. Everyone opened their eyes wide and exclaimed. Under the shocked gazes of countless Marines, this mast was forcibly pulled up. Huang Quan Lin Yu is approaching us. No way. There is Vice Admiral Ghost Spider on that battleship. Didn't Lieutenant General Ghost Spider knock Huang Quan Lin Yu down? All the Marines looked shocked. Lin Yu rushed out. Where is Lieutenant General Ghost Spider? Could it be? This thought flashed through someone's mind, a look of horror appeared in their eyes, and they couldn't help but shake their heads. No, it's definitely not possible. After all, Ghost Spider was a Lieutenant General level figure in the Marine headquarters. How could he die in the hands of a little South Blue, and a little pirate who had never even been to the Grand Line? However, the figure in midair actually exists. Armed and domineering. Tangled. Lin Yu shouted loudly. The huge log turned into pitch black and headed straight for the remaining 2 marine warships. Here, Huang Quan, Lin Yu is here, be careful. Where is Lieutenant General Ghost Spider? Many marines looked shocked and looked at this scene in disbelief. The Ghost Spider was actually defeated by Lin Yu. It wasn't until Lin Yu's figure appeared above the warship that these people had to accept this fact. They raised their muskets in horror and fired at Lin Yu. Bang bang bang. Bullets were flying everywhere, but Lin Yu easily dodged them. With the blessing of Jian Wen's domineering spirit, Lin Yu could clearly see the flight path of the bullet. Shoot, shoot, kill. Bullets were flying in the air, but none of them hit Lin Yu. At this moment, the log mast in Lin Yu's hand became the most convenient weapon. Armed and domineering, entangled. A huge mast falls from the sky. Boom. Under the violent attack, Lin Yu split another battleship into 2. The 4th battleship was sunk. Withdraw. Withdraw quickly. In the distance, the Marines on the 5th warship looked at this scene with a look of disbelief. The captain glanced at the battleship that had turned into ruins in the distance, and yelled in horror. On the wreckage of the 4th battleship, Lin Yu stood among a pile of broken wooden boards, breathing heavily, and watched the 5th warship turn around and flee. Except when he faced a Kainu before, Lin Yu had no power to resist. This battle can be said to be the most brutal battle. In fact, his physical strength has reached its limit. The blow just now had exhausted all his strength. Now Lin Yu couldn't move at all. Once the 5th warship turned its guns and fired a salvo at him, it would definitely be an extremely unfavorable situation for Lin Yu. However, Lieutenant General Ghost Spider's life or death was uncertain, and the 4th warship was destroyed. Such a result was completely beyond the psychological endurance of the 5 ships. The Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General is awesome. Lin Yu looked at the messy wounds on his body. Although most of them had healed, there were a few deeper wounds with blood still seeping out from them. With the evacuation of the 5th large battleship, the South Blue Fleet also evacuated. There was chaos on the battlefield. There was no intact ship to be found in the port. Marine cannons destroyed all pirate ships and merchant ships in the harbor. Joel Bonnie came in a small boat. Lin Yu. Chow Ili Bonnie looked at the blood on Lin Yu's body, feeling anxious and walked over quickly. Fine. Lin Yu shook his head and waved to Bonnie, indicating that nothing was wrong with him. When Bonnie came over with the first aid kit and bandaged Lin Yu's wound, she wiped the blood on her body, only to find that there was new skin under the blood. Bonnie looked at Lin Yu with a look like a monster. How can such an injury recover so quickly? What kind of physique is this? Chow Ili Bonnie was shocked while wiping Lin Yu's blood. After a moment, she seemed to have thought of something. Although Marine was repelled, there is also bad news. Chow Ili Bonnie raised her head and said, "The harbor of Spice Island has been destroyed. We no longer have a ship that can pass the upside-down mountain and enter the Grand Line." Lin Yu frowned. This was not good news. It's really a headache. If you want to enter the Grand Route, there is only one way to go, and that is to pass through Upside Down Mountain to enter the first half of the Grand Route. Then choose a route, bypassing the Red Earth continent, passing through Fishman Island or Mary Joa, and heading to the New World. So, no matter from which angle you look at it, you need a boat. Lin Yu scratched his head. His previous plan was to rob pirates or marine ships, but now the Marines on Spice Island have retreated, and several of their ships have been blown up. There are also many shipyards on the Spice Island. However, the construction of a ship takes at least several months. Lin Yu didn't dare to wait for several months on the Spice Island. Marine was probably scared out of his wits. The next time he came, he might not just be a lieutenant general, but maybe several Marine lieutenants. Take action. Even if Akainu was shameless, he might take action himself, but this is unlikely. He probably happened to be nearby last time. General Marine is the mainstay of Marine, so naturally he will not take action to catch Lin Yu easily. After all, although Lin Yu made a lot of noise in South Blue, he is only a small South Blue after all. Most of Marine's strength still needs to be invested in the New World in order to maintain a balance with the 4 emperors. If General Marine is sent to capture Lin Yu, then Whitebeard will definitely dare to completely destroy the Marine base in New World when Marine is weak. In the New World, there is a fragile balance between Marines and pirates. This balance can easily be broken if you are not careful, but no one dares to break it easily. Of course, it is not an easy task for Marine to dispatch lieutenant generals. At least they have to wait until New World's defenses are properly arranged before they can dispatch several lieutenant generals to jointly deal with Lin Yu. Therefore, Lin Yu didn't want Marine to have too much time to prepare. He had to go to the first half of the grand route in the shortest possible time, which was the pirates' paradise. Lin Yu's underworld pirates, among the entire group, apart from him, the only one left was Chow Eli Bani. Such a small number of manpower is really a bit of a problem. Lin Yu wants crew members, but the ones here in South Blue are all crooked, and only on the Grand Line can there be more potential stocks to choose from. Marine Headquarters. On the top floor of this fortress, there is a plaque with the 5 characters, Absolute Justice, hanging, which is the office of General Akainu. However, at this moment, the temperature in the office suddenly increased. All the generals and officers waiting here are sweating profusely. Akainu was obviously very angry. Lin Yu, is it possible that we should send a general to hunt down a small pirate? Akainu stood up suddenly, and the temperature around him suddenly increased. The air is frozen. All the marine elites lowered their heads one after another, not daring to make a sound. General Akainu is the sternest member of Marine, and no one dares to disobey his orders. News just came. On South Blue Spice Island, Lieutenant General Ghost Spider led 5 battleships to intercept Lin Yu, but ended in failure. Lieutenant General Ghost Spider was beheaded. Moreover, they also lost 3 major generals. 36 officers above the school level were killed. 3,863 elite soldiers died in battle. 4 large battleships were destroyed. There was only 1 ship left, and it fled back in embarrassment. What a huge loss. Even in New World, this situation has not happened for many years. The Lieutenant General of our headquarters was killed. And still in a little South Blue. Never heard of this. The majestic Marine Lieutenant General can't even defeat a South Blue pirate. If this incident were to spread, it would have a huge impact on Marine and even cause a chain reaction, making everyone doubt Marine's strength and making everyone lose confidence in the world government. Akainu's face became extremely ugly at this moment. The hot lava flowed down his body and burned the floor. All Marine officers present were shuddering. Pass the order. Akainu suddenly stood up and said, "Give me the order to have the 4 lieutenants Flying Squirrel, Doberman, Huo Shaoshan, and Strawberry lead the fleet to South Blue. Kill all Lin Yu and his gang." He naturally attaches great importance to Lin Yu who can escape from him. Lin Yu's rise is so fast. Akainu originally thought that the Ghost Spider's strength was more than enough to deal with Lin Yu, but now it seems that he was completely wrong. This time, he sent 4 lieutenant generals from his headquarters at once. He was bound to kill Lin Yu. "General," an officer stepped forward. "Isn't there something wrong with this? After all." Akainu's cold gaze swept across, and the officer shuddered immediately, but he still stared at Akainu. Akainu calmed down a little and said, "Yes, Wangquan Lin Yu should be on the Grand Line now. We can't use the power of New World to deal with Lin Yu. Pass my order to all Marine branches in the first half of the Grand Route to search for Lin Yu's whereabouts." Akainu came back to his senses and looked thoughtful. Being able to kill a lieutenant general of the headquarters is enough to prove that Lin Yu is powerful and cannot be easily crushed by ordinary Marines. To defeat Lin Yu, more preparations are needed. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days have passed. Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General Ghost Spider was defeated and killed by Huangquan Lin Yu when he was chasing the Huangquan pirates. 4 large battleships were destroyed. The news quickly spread across the sea. On this day, everyone on the sea is paying attention to his news. No way, really or not, the Marine Headquarters, Lieutenant General has been defeated. Countless people were holding newspapers with shocked faces. No one expected that the Marine Headquarters would actually send a Lieutenant General sent by Lin Yu, but what was even more shocking was that the Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General couldn't even deal with a pirate from South Blue. This is simply unbelievable. This incident quickly spread throughout the New World. Other side. On the big ship, Moby, a man with a pineapple head was leaning on the side of the ship holding a newspaper. "Gu la la la. Marco, looks like we have a great guy in South Blue." There was a man sitting on a big chair. His upper body was naked, his body was covered with syringes, and he was getting an IV drip. He was holding a large wine bucket in his hand, and he was drinking heavily. The gray beard at the corner of his mouth was very conspicuous. Obviously, this man is the captain of the Whitebeard pirates and the most powerful being in the world at present. Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. Captain, didn't I tell you not to drink? Yes, his health is not good and he can't drink anymore. The two young nurses were not afraid of Whitebeard at all. As they spoke, they stretched out their hands to grab it. However, Whitebeard laughed loudly and raised the barrel high. Eulala, no. Whitebeard chuckled and said, I don't care how my body is, but I have to drink wine. Dad, how about you listen to them sometimes? Pineapple Head said with a smile. Marco, it's useless. That's what Dad is like. A young man wearing a cowboy cap smiled. Haha, Ace is right. Marco laughed. The whole Moby crew is laughing. Next, there was another lively dinner party. Whitebeard laughed. That is one's own relatives. The family was enjoying themselves happily, which made him very satisfied. This generation of young people is really getting stronger and stronger. Somewhere in the New World, the Red Firth. The red-haired Shanks chuckled. Haha, there are recent reports that the newcomers who have gone overseas in the past 2 years are all of the extremely evil generation. There are more than 13 newcomers with a bounty of over 100 million. The vice captain of the red-haired pirates, Ben Beckman, was stroking his pistol with one hand and holding a glass of wine in his other hand, and said calmly, I heard that Luffy also went to sea and defeated Crocodile. Jesus laughed and said, my son and Luffy are on the same boat. Ouch, cheers. For a time, this news swept the world. The name Huang Quan Lin Yu soon spread throughout the world. Everyone knows that the reward for this guy is definitely more than 100 million. A pirate, before entering the Grand Line, was already famous all over the world. Pirates usually fight against each other. It seems that this time, a new strong man has appeared on the Great Route. On the sea, Lin Yu found a ship that was still in good condition. After briefly repairing it at the repair shop on Spice Island, he was finally able to go to sea. HMPH, this is the shabbiest boat I have ever seen. There is nothing worse than this. Chow Ellie Bonnie looked at the patched sails and murmured to herself. Sir Bonnie, this ship was restored by the best shipwrights on Spice Island, and its strength must be no problem. A pirate laughed while controlling the sail. On Spice Island, Lin Yu recruited dozens of pirates. Of course, these are just the handymen on the ship. As for the leader, there is only Chow Ellie Bonnie at the moment. Bonnie, let's go to the Water City first. When we get there, we'll find the most magnificent and sturdy ship. Lin Yu laughed and raised a glass of rum. TCH, do you think you are rich? Chow Ellie Bonnie looked at the mountains of barbecue and various foods in front of her and said disdainfully. She is also a foodie after all, so this configuration is standard for her. At this moment, a news bird fell from the sky and landed on the bow of the ship. After Joe Ellie Bonnie gave Newsbird 100 belly, she took away the latest issue of the newspaper. On the front page of the newspaper, there is Lin Yu's latest wanted notice. Lin Yu, the captain of the Wonquan pirates. Reward, 300 million. As soon as the news reached the ship, it immediately caused a cheer. For the pirate group, the bounty is almost equivalent to the badge of a pirate group. With a bounty of 300 million, he can already be regarded as the top among the new generation. For example, in the original work of One Piece, Luffy's bounty amount is a good example. After defeating Buggy in the East China Sea, defeating Captain Kolo, defeating Admiral Crocker, and defeating the Murloc Dragon and other forces, the Straw Hat Pirates rose to fame, and Luffy gradually came to be taken seriously by Marine. The first bounty released was actually up to more than 30 million berries, surpassing Captain Buggy. After Luffy defeated Crocodile, the 7 warlords of the sea, and the Alabasta incident, his bounty reached 100 million. By this time, Lin Yu was basically sure of the time when he came to this world. Just a few days ago, he had just seen the news about Luffy's victory over Crocodile, and at the same time he also saw the wanted poster, which clearly stated a person with the potential of a king. Just as depicted in the original work, it was a smiling little boy. The kings of the old era are still the rulers of the new world, but new people who want to overthrow the rule of the old era have already arrived in droves. Luffy only has a reward of 100 million, but Lin Yu has a reward of up to 300 million. Of course, there is also the reason why Lin Yu defeated the Lieutenant General and shot down 4 warships, but more importantly, Lin Yu has offended Marine and the world government. A reward of 300 million is not unusual. At this time, Lin Yu didn't care much about his reward. Because now the Wangquan pirates have reached a critical moment of life and death. As we get closer and closer to the Grand Line, both the weather and the currents become elusive, and the sea becomes choppy and choppy. Under the strong wind, this dilapidated big ship was teetering, as if the last straw was missing and the ship would disintegrate. The most powerful shipbuilder on the Spice Island actually built a ship like this. Chow Eli Bani jumped up, pointed at one of the pirates and cursed. A gust of wind blew, and the ship's hull suddenly swayed from side to side. Hey, Bonnie, don't worry, calm down. This is just a dilapidated boat. It is extremely difficult to build it like this. Lin Yu laughed, not at all worried about the crisis at hand. At this time, he was standing on the bow of the ship, looking straight ahead. They have to control the boat to prevent it from entering the windless area, and then ride the wind and waves towards the upside-down mountain. The Grand Line and the Red Continent divide the entire planet into 4 regions, southeast, northwest, and southeast, and the ocean currents in these areas will converge to the upside-down mountain and then flow into the Grand Line. Everyone knows this. Because of this, crossing upside-down mountain has become an extremely dangerous journey. The ocean currents converge at the top of upside-down mountain. If the direction cannot be controlled well, or there are ships passing by from the other 3 oceans, it will be easy for them to collide with each other. Then even the strongest ships will be trapped in the huge it fell apart under the impact. Every time you climb upside-down mountain, you risk your life. And now, it has just begun. After entering the Grand Line, the ocean currents and weather become more complicated, which is a huge test for everyone who wants to pass the Grand Line. We don't even have a navigator. It's simply a wishful thinking to cross the upside-down mountain. Chow Eli Bani finally found someone who was more neurotic than her. She nervously grabbed the things in the cabin to avoid being thrown into the sea. Lin Yu stood on the deck, facing the strong wind, with a look of longing on his face. The dilapidated ship made a piercing scream and broke through the waves, its bow crashing into waves one after another. After passing through the fog on the vast sea, a magnificent red continent stretching to the horizon suddenly appeared in front of us. This is the Red Earth continent. Lin Yu was standing on the bow of the ship, looking at the land in the distance. He swore that this was definitely the most spectacular scene he had ever seen. That's the Red Earth continent. Chow Eli Bani also walked to his side, her eyes full of excitement. The ship moved forward slowly. As we get closer and closer to the coastline, a wide river gradually comes into view. A river flowing backward. This is one of the weirdest things in the world. By following this river upstream, they could cross the upside-down mountain and reach the starting point of the first half of the Great Waterway. This upside-down mountain is its starting point and its end point. The final island of Rafadru is probably hidden in the mist in the distance. But without guidance, it is impossible to find Ravdru. Even if he cuts into the second half of the Great Route from the windless zone, he can only scurry around like a headless fly in the vast sea. Lin Yu just glanced at it and looked away. He doesn't have much interest in the final island, it's just out of curiosity. The boat is getting closer and closer to the upside-down mountain, and the water flow is getting stronger and stronger. Finally, the bow of the boat hit the countercurrent. In an instant, the whole ship seemed to have hit an iceberg, and it suddenly stopped. The bow of the ship is raised high. All the pirates in the group were hurriedly grabbing things nearby to avoid being thrown off. Lin Yu laughed and held the crumbling Bonnie in his arms. The pirate ship sailed along the current, heading towards the Great Channel. When the ship entered the countercurrent, the turbulence weakened slightly. They finally climbed to the top of Upside-Down Mountain and came to the Grand Line. In front of the lighthouse in Twin Valley, an old man who was reading a newspaper turned his head and looked upstream. This man is Kolikas, the keeper of the Twin Gorges lighthouse and a doctor on board the One Piece Roger. Oh, another group of new people have arrived. I don't know where they can go. Kurokas put down the newspaper in his hand and looked at the ship's retreating figure, as if he had returned to the past. Every year, he comes here and sees with his own eyes how many pirates have poured into this paradise. Most of them are ordinary people, just a small wave on the great voyage. Inside Akainu's office. At this time, Akainu also received news that Lin Yu of the underworld pirates had entered the Grand Line. The fall of the ghost spider made Lin Yu a thorn in Akainu's heart, and he had to pull it out no matter what. How about it? Akainu put down the document in his hand and said. Shijiaji, Huangquan Lin Yu has entered the Grand Route. How have you considered the task of capturing Huangquan Lin Yu? Akainu is one of the strongest men in the Marine headquarters and the most powerful general, but at this moment he looks kind and cheerful. The man opposite is also wearing Marine's cloak of justice. It can be seen from the shoulder straps that this guy is a lieutenant general. But in addition to his cloak, this honest-looking farmer also had a cigar in his mouth. He was also dressed casually, with his legs folded together, looking carefree. However, even Lieutenant General Marine was very respectful to Akainu. How could he be so casual with Akainu? T-Dolphin, Gigi is a lieutenant general, and he also has a nickname in the Marines, that is, candidate for general. Yes, if Marine really needs 4 generals, then T-Dolphin is one of them. In fact, this T-Dolphin is not much different from the future. What's more, the two of them are brothers in the same discipline. Akainu and Kizaru Porisalino are both the first disciples of the former Marine General Harasawa, while the Marine generals such as Chado and Kuzan are the third-generation disciples of Kizaru. In Marine, there are 2 lieutenant generals, who are called general candidates, one is Momoshige Gion and the other is Chiwantoki. Sakaski, it's not like you don't understand me. I'm usually very busy. Shijiaji took the cigar out of his mouth and said slowly. This guy doesn't look like a lieutenant general who kills without batting an eye, but more like an ordinary farmer. Akainu frowned. He didn't like the attitude of the T-Pig very much. This lazy attitude reminded him of Aokiji Kuzan, another Marine general. Chapter 31. The relationship between Qingzi and Akainu is not good, this is something everyone knows. The two disagreed on many things. If it wasn't absolutely necessary, Akainu wouldn't want an officer who didn't look like a soldier to do this. In Akainu's view, mobilizing the power of New World is a very risky thing. What's more, Ghost Spider is already dead. If he wants to send a lieutenant general to encircle and suppress Lin Yu, he must dispatch several lieutenant generals at the same time. Therefore, the only thing he could do was to turn his attention to other forces that could be mobilized. The T-Dolphin in front of him is one of them. This T-Dolphin is not an ordinary lieutenant general, but a candidate general. In other words, this person has the strength of a general. Because of this, Chado is only a lieutenant general, but Akainu cannot speak to him in a commanding tone like he does with an ordinary lieutenant general. If you can complete the mission of hunting down Huangquan Lin Yu, then I will sign the appointment and appoint you as the Dean of the Marine Recruit Training Institute, and your deputy dean will be Momoshige. Are you telling the truth? Chado suddenly stood up. Of course. Akainu nodded without any hesitation. Haha, then I'll stretch my muscles on the Grand Line. Akainu smiled. Another general candidate is Momoshige Gion, also known as the Powder Keg. Momoshige was rejected 100 times, and this incident has become a joke at Marine headquarters. Let the T-Dolphin and Momoshige partner up to do something. How could the T-Dolphin let go of such a good opportunity? Send a general-level lieutenant general to hunt down Lin Yu. Akainu felt that there should be no surprises and the matter was over. Lin Yu didn't know what happened at Marine headquarters. Even if you know it, it doesn't matter. His goal is 7 warlords of the sea. In Lin Yu's view, the Grand Route is a hunting land for him, and these strong men are also his prey, so he will naturally not let them go. These strong men are all stepping stones for him to reach the top of the world. They are all his experience and attributes. Lin Yu is very confident that next time he sees Akainu, he will definitely smash this guy's head. It's windy and rainy, the waves are rough, there's thunder and lightning. Such weather is rare everywhere. But on the Grand Line, bad weather, strange environment, and strange magnetic field are the norm. All of these will bring great obstacles to the navigation of the Great Route. How long will it take before I can go to the island again to rest? Joelle Bonny stood on the watchtower and asked a crew member next to her. On the Great Line, the navigation knowledge they learned was completely useless. As long as you follow the direction pointed by the pointer, you will reach an island one day. But which island we land on depends on fate. There are 7 routes in total in the Grand Line. No one can be sure which one they will go to before reaching the first island. In the violent wind and rain, a huge wave tens of meters high unexpectedly appeared in front of us. Earth-shaking rush. Not good. Joelle Bonnie had a look of horror on her face. Bonnie has devil fruit powers. If their ship is smashed into pieces by the waves here, it will be a disaster for her. But now, he doesn't know how to stop it. The power of nature is so powerful. At the critical moment, Lin Yu jumped into the air. Lanjiao! Lin Yu shouted suddenly. A huge slash directly split the huge wave that was tens of meters high into 2. But this big ship passed through the waves unharmed. Great captain! Alas! The pirates on the ship all cheered. With such a powerful captain, they felt that their future was bright. This kind of bad weather appears again and again. In this strange ocean, it is calm sometimes and violently windy sometimes. Sometimes, large whirlpools suddenly appear on the originally calm sea surface. Or encounter a huge iceberg in high temperatures. Along the Grand Line, there are all kinds of unnatural weather conditions. After experiencing a series of bad weather, Lin Yu and others finally passed through the harshest sea area and arrived at the first island. Whiskey Peak. When the fleet entered the port, Lin Yu knew what route he had chosen. This is exactly the same route that Luffy chose in the original novel. Lin Yu felt a little disappointed. As a person full of adventure, Lin Yu certainly wants to go to more places. Moreover, he already knew that the Straw Hat Pirates were in front of him. If the 2 of them were walking on the same road, wouldn't it mean that Lin Yu could only lag far behind and follow others? In Whiskey Peak, due to the arrest of Crocodile, chaos arose within the sphere of influence of Baroque Studio. On the surface, this is a town that welcomes pirates, but in fact, it is a place where a large number of bounty hunters gather. Countless bounty hunters are waiting to hunt newcomers from all directions. This is the Grand Line. It doesn't seem to be anything special. Lin Yu spoke as he walked. Okay, anyway, let's go get something to eat first. Just enough food is important. Chow Ellie Bonnie patted her belly and said. The recording pointer needs to stay on the island for a while to store the magnetism. While talking, Lin Yu looked at the record pointer on his wrist. Next, we have to find a restaurant. After eating Poseidon meat for several days, Lin Yu couldn't eat any more. They enter a hotel. Boss, here's 2,000 kilograms of barbecue. Chow Ellie said something loudly, and a group of people walked in. At this time, in a marine base. Lieutenant General, we have just received news that the Wonkwon pirates have appeared in Whiskey Peak. A marine officer spoke respectfully to the T-Dolphin sitting on a chair. The T-Dolphin smoked the cigar vigorously, and then blew out circles of smoke rings. The prey is finally here, I can't wait to see it. Lieutenant General, according to their route and our current position, I think we should intercept them at Alabasta. Cha Do nodded. Then let's resolve this matter in Alabasta as soon as possible. Huang Quan Lin Yu, for my sake, even if I kill you, don't blame me. However, Lieutenant General, according to the information we have received, Huang Quan, Lin Yu and his group may run into some trouble at Whiskey Peak. A man in a black suit said with a solemn expression. Oh, Cha Do glanced at the document in his hand. It's just a bunch of rabble. If Huang Quan Lin Yu is defeated by this bunch of rabble, then let's just go get his head and return to his death. After all, Akainu didn't say whether he was going to die or live. The T-Dolphin stuffed another cigar into his mouth. In the town of Whiskey Peak. In an empty room, there were many vicious guys gathered. This prey is not a fuel-efficient lamp. There was a large round table in the middle of the room. There were 3 chairs around the table, and the 3 people were sitting on the chairs. One of them was in a suit and leather tie, with his hair neatly combed and meticulously combed. What else? If he is a soft persimmon, it is impossible for the 3 major forces of our Whiskey Mountain to gather together. Next to this man, a bald man touched a scar on his forehead and said in a deep voice. Tell me, how will we divide the money after we get it? Asked another man holding a long sword. At this time, Lin Yu's reward was placed on the table. Whiskey Peak is a gathering place for bounty hunters. I don't know how many new pirates died here, and then their heads were cut off to collect the rewards. It can be said that for any pirate, Whiskey Peak is a huge test. But this day is a big event for the bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak. An amazing new pirate member. Lin Yu, the captain of the underworld pirates from South Blue, has a bounty of 300 million belly. Chow Ellie, the leader of the underworld pirates with a bounty of 140 million baileys, Bonnie. A total of 440 million. This is a huge sum of money. In the past, the bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak would not have dared to attack such pirates. Because most of the pirates with bounties of over 100 million are from the Grand Line or the New World. The bounty hunters at Whiskey Top usually hunt newcomers. Among the pirates killed in the past, the highest bounty was only about 60 million belly. Pirates with a bounty of over 100 million are extremely rare in the world. But this time, two appeared at the same time. The amount of bounty does not represent a person's absolute strength. A pirate with a bounty of 50 to 60 million may not be as powerful as a pirate with a bounty of 30 million. However, Lin Yu was still a newcomer who had never set foot on the Grand Route, so the bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak were eyeing Lin Yu. Because the Straw Hat Pirates defeated Baroque Studio, the island was leaderless, and all the major forces were secretly discussing how to deal with the underworld pirates. Although Lin Yu is just a newcomer, he has a reward of 300 million. If you add Chow Ellie Bonnie, it will be 440 million. The wealth is so exciting that it naturally arouses the covetousness of all the forces on the island. Moreover, no matter what, Lin Yu is just a rookie who has not yet embarked on the Grand Route, so even if he defeats Lieutenant General Ghost Spider, how strong will he be in the eyes of those bounty hunters? Maybe there is something hidden in it. This is simple, that is, everyone involved in this matter will have a chance to get a share of the pie. Once successful, the bounty can be divided into two parts, one part for our three families, and one part for the person who gave Huang Quan Lin Yu the fatal blow. The big-backed man in the middle smiled faintly. Fair enough. Second, the other two people also nodded. Next, we have to discuss tactics carefully. This guy can defeat even the lieutenant general of our headquarters. On the ring, the three people were talking a lot. The subordinates around him also started talking quietly. How can a ragtag group of people be as disciplined as a regular army? Have you heard? It is said that a fat sheep is coming today. But he's not that easy to mess with. He defeated a Marine headquarters lieutenant general and sank 4 large warships. But I didn't see many people coming. It stands to reason that such a powerful person should have a lot of followers. Is it possible that there is some shady secret behind it? Is it possible that some big boss is trying to create momentum for the illegitimate child? Being able to sink 4 battleships shows that the opponent's fleet is not weak, but it is also possible that both sides of the battle with Marine will suffer losses, and now there is only one dilapidated battleship left. It's also possible that Ghost Spider was tricked. Is it possible that he was squeezed out by the general? With a reward of more than 400 million, no wonder the entire town has to be mobilized. Oliver, the boss of the Twin Peaks Security Company. Wallen, the boss of the underground gang, and the representatives recommended by the Whiskey Peak Bounty Hunters Association, the werewolf swordsman, Murphy, the user with the wolf fruit ability. 3 parties have joined forces, which is unprecedented. Faced with such a power, even the 7 warlords of the sea would probably have to retreat, let alone Lin Yu, a mere underworld. A group of people were discussing greedily, and they were dazzled by the bounty of more than 400 million. At this moment, Lin Yu and others were feasting, but they didn't know that they had become a fat fish in the eyes of pirate hunters. After eating and drinking, Lin Yu quickly realized that all their money had been spent. You fool, you saved all that money to buy a boat. You ate it all. Chow Ellie Bonnie yelled at Lin Yu. Lin Yu touched his nose awkwardly. Although Lin Yu ate the most, he still refused to admit that it was his fault. You're still talking about me, I think you eat a lot. At this time, only Lin Yu and Bonnie were left in the restaurant. The other pirates had already eaten and left the restaurant to have fun. As for Lin Yu and Chow Ellie Bonnie, they enjoy the food more. They didn't stop until they had drained the last pele in their wallets. Welcome again. The restaurant owner sent Lin Yu and Bonnie out of the restaurant with a smile on his face. As for this restaurant, they won't even have to do business in the next few weeks. Just what Lin Yu and Chow Ellie Bonnie ate just now is worth their restaurant's monthly income. Although they kept refusing to admit defeat and blaming each other, they were still very honest physically. Lin and Yu Chow Ellie Bonnie patted their bellies honestly and spent all their money on food. This meal was worth it. However, as soon as he walked out of the restaurant, Lin Yu noticed something was wrong. Someone is spying on us. Lin Yu's sixth sense was extremely keen, and what he saw and heard made him feel the danger. Bang! There was a gunshot. Lin Yu suddenly turned over, held Chow Elibani in his arms, and ducked to avoid the blow. It seems like someone is going to be in trouble. Another wave of money-giving boys has arrived. Lin Yu grinned and said, I just finished spending the money and someone comes here, so I won't be polite. Be safe yourself. Lin Yu gently patted Chow Elibani's back. He was not worried at all that Chow Elibani would lose to an unknown person in a place like this. In any case, she is a person with the age fruit ability, the gluttonous girl Chow Elibani. Missed. In the distance, Oliver, the boss of Twin Peaks Security Company, looked at Lin Yu with his binoculars. The reward for that guy is as high as 300 million. It is simply wishful thinking to capture him with a sniper rifle. The gang leader Wallen scratched his head and grinned. It's our turn now. Warren raised the phone bug. Follow the plan. Just when gang leader Warren finished saying this, on the roof where Lin Yu was, several people dropped a lot of things. Poisonous. It's a poison gas bomb. Chow Elibani said immediately. These little minions are so annoying. Lin Yu stood up. Foul-smelling gas was still coming out of several jars nearby. Lin Yu frowned, but he didn't care at all. With his current physical strength, the mere poisonous gas could not hurt him at all, but it was too smelly. It was given to him right after he had eaten, and he almost vomited out his overnight meal. Chow Elibani felt the same way, except that she was not worried that Lin Yu would be poisoned. She also knew that Lin Yu was as strong as a monster, so there was no need to worry at all. She jumped out of a window and escaped from the poisonous fog. Warren, it seems your poison gas has no effect at all. Werewolf swordsman Murphy stood next to the gang boss Wallen and said with a sneer. Humph, don't define it too early, this is just a first-hand test. As soon as the gang boss Warren finished saying this, he was completely angered by the scene in front of him. I saw Lin Yu's figure flashing a few times, and the few scoundrels he sent out to spread poison had all fallen to the ground. Led him to the agency. No, it's so fast. It's too late. Bang, 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 bang. Soon, the streets were filled with fallen people, scattered everywhere. All the gang boss Warren's men fell. The traps and tactics they had laid out before had no effect at all. They could not even lure the enemy. However, before Lin Yu could breathe a sigh of relief, the area where he was already covered by bombs. Bombs exploded next to Lin Yu. When the smoke and dust cleared, the bounty hunters didn't see how Lin Yu died at all. They only saw one crater after another, which was empty. Up there, up there. I don't know who shouted. Before they could come back to their senses, their eyes were completely dark, and they bid farewell to this world completely. The local forces in the three Whiskey Peaks, with hundreds of subordinates deployed around them, were all killed by Lin Yu in such a short time, leaving no room for resistance. There was no time to turn around and escape. The bounty hunters watching the battle not far away were even shivering and their teeth were chattering. This is a monster you can't afford to mess with. They were about to turn around and run away. Since this is the path you chose, then, you don't have to leave. People have to pay the price for their choices. Of course, Lin Yu had already noticed these people holding weapons. Amidst the screams, Lin Yu easily eliminated more than 1,000 people gathered by the three major forces on Whiskey Mountain. A few days later, the media named this incident, the Whiskey Peak Incident. Of course, these are all small fish and shrimps. Lin Yu looked into the distance. The three guys standing at the top with telescopes and observing must be the masterminds behind the scenes. Warren and his men looked at this scene dumbfounded, with cold sweat on their foreheads. In the blink of an eye, thousands of people were slaughtered. Oliver said solemnly, This is simply a monster. Even the guy who retreated from the Grand Line cannot have such a strong force. He is simply not something we can compete with. Retreat, quickly. What about my brothers? The gang boss Varun looked like he wanted to get an explanation for his younger brother. If you want revenge, go ahead and take revenge. I don't want to mess with people like this, Murphy said coldly. Warren gritted his teeth. The strength displayed by Lin Yu made them, well-informed people, understand that this kind of monster was simply not something they could provoke. The three were preparing to order a retreat. No, we've been discovered. The gang boss Warren held a telescope with trembling hands. What? Not good, the other two people exclaimed. A strong sense of crisis surged into my heart. Just as they finished speaking, Lin Yu's figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Lin Yu has never slackened on the practice of domineering, including seeing, hearing, and hearing domineering. From the beginning, he noticed these three people. As a pirate hunter, the first thing you need to know is how big your prey is. If you can't tell it, you won't have a chance next time. Lin Yu said calmly. Kill. The leader, Warren, took out a pistol and frantically pulled the trigger at Lin Yu. But it happened to be empty. Lin Yu suddenly appeared in front of him. Point the gun, Lin Yu said with a faint smile. One finger pierced his head. Warren slowly fell to the ground. Oliver and Murphy looked at each other. His strength is no less than those monsters on the Grand Line. Murphy said coldly with a solemn expression. We can't go on like this. Take out all your cards, otherwise, we will all die here. Oliver nodded. He knew very well that if he didn't fight hard at this time, he would be dead. Wolf fruit. Werewolf form. Murphy pulled out his sword and instantly transformed into a werewolf. And Oliver is also a devil fruit owner. His hands suddenly turned into two steel needles. Two people, actually two devil fruit ability users. When Lin Yu saw this, he frowned. Then, he beamed. It's really a double happiness. This is a huge fortune. People with devil fruits are not uncommon in the Grand Line. But what surprised Lin Yu was that just after he landed on the first island, two devil fruit users actually appeared in such a small place. A fruit ability user can obtain at least 1,000 free attribute points. When he escaped from Akainu's nose, Lin Yu knew that the energy of the previous devil fruit had been wasted by him. These stored energies are his trump card. They can be used once at a critical moment, which is a life-saving trump card. But when he first absorbed the energy of the first devil fruit, he actually chose 1,000 free attribute points. This was simply a huge waste. Come together and kill him together. Oliver's voice deepened. Although they are both devil fruit power users, they both know that there are strong and weak devil fruit power users. Murphy's fruit is an animal-type werewolf fruit. Ordinary devil fruits can only increase strength and speed, and are relatively weak devil fruits. And Oliver has the Paramesha steel thorn fruit ability. He can turn his hands into steel thorns, and even his entire body into steel thorns. However, this ability is of little use to Oliver, because it is just a weapon. It's just the ability to turn one's body into a weapon. Every devil fruit needs to be developed. In addition to Logia, there are also some special devil fruits, such as some special Paramesha, animal type, etc. Most devil fruits cannot be used without development. Possibly one with monster level power. Moreover, judging from the strength Lin Yu showed just now, even a devil fruit user would be hard-pressed to defeat thousands of people in 10 minutes like Lin Yu. Such a powerful force made Oliver and others frightened. The two of them took action almost at the same time. The so-called people die for money. This sentence could not be more suitable for Oliver and Murphy. Shave. Lin Yu's figure suddenly disappeared from the sight of the two of them. I saw him stretching out his hands, grabbing the two of them by their throats, and lifting them up. The two of them were blushing and struggling desperately, and they were about to be strangled to death by Lin Yu. At this moment, something fell out of Oliver's body. Lin Yu lowered his head and looked at his feet. He was slightly startled because this pointer was somewhat different from the previous recorded pointer. He shook off the two men and picked up the pointer. Slowly turning around, the pointer always pointed in the same direction. Permanent pointer. Lin Yu suddenly realized. On the Grand Line, there is a pointer that always points in one direction, which can point to a certain island permanently. He looked at the two guys who were thrown out by him and walked towards Oliver. Now, I'll give you a chance to tell me which island this permanent pointer refers to. I tell you, you will spare my life. Ah! Oliver let out a shrill scream. His entire foot was crushed by Lin Yu, even his ankle was not spared. You are not qualified to negotiate terms with me. Lin Yu's voice was cold, like a judgment from hell. He would never be merciful to the enemies who attacked him. As Oliver screamed, Murphy rushed over in horror. Phew! In the end, his head was pierced by Lin Yu's finger. Give you 3 chances. Lin Yu stepped on Oliver's other ankle. Jam! I said. It's the Water City. This is the pointer to the Water City. Oliver was so anxious that he was sweating profusely and almost cried. Lin Yu nodded and slapped Oliver's head to pieces, thus ending his life. Ding. You defeated Oliver, strength 13.1 plus, agility plus 14.7, endurance plus 11.6, constitution plus 10.4. The battle ends. And this time, Lin Yu's harvest was also very big, because he defeated 2 devil fruit ability users, got 2 balls of devil fruit energy, and also got an extra trophy, a permanent pointer to the Water City. If, as Oliver said, this is indeed the permanent pointer to the water capital, then Lin Yu can directly reach the water capital with this pointer. Only then did Lin Yu remember that the people from CP9 were still hiding in the Water City. The members of CP9 are basically strong men with devil fruit abilities, and all of them are masters of physical skills, with Rob Lucci being the most outstanding. In the original work, before the concept of domineering was introduced, Rob Lucci's strength could be said to be the most powerful enemy that Luffy and others had ever encountered. When Rob Lucci was 13 years old, he joined CP9 and killed 500 soldiers and a boatload of pirates as a pledge of honor and became a member of CP9. He is a devil fruit user himself, possesses a cat fruit in the form of a leopard, and has practiced the 6 marine styles to the point of proficiency. He is also a master of physical arts. Lucci's strength has been recognized by countless strong men. Aokiji knew that Shichibukai Crocodile was defeated by Luffy, but he did not think that Luffy could defeat Rob Lucci. After Rob Lucci's defeat, the government expressed its concerns to Shichibukai Moria. Shichibukai Shang once said, "Who would have expected Rob Lucci's defeat?" This sentence was to remind Moria not to underestimate the enemy. Big pirates like Mariah, who once fought against Kaido of the 4 emperors, were shocked when they heard the news that Lucci had been defeated. Just with an animal-type fruit and his physical skills, he can be recognized by so many people, which shows how strong Rob Lucci is. The concept of power also appeared for the first time in the Judiciary Island incident in the original work. Taking One Piece as an example, the average marine soldier's power is 10, and if it exceeds 500, he is a Superman. Among CP9, the weakest one is Commander Spandam. His strength is only 9 points, which is worse than even a soldier. Followed by Khalifa with 630 points, Owl with 800 points, Lion with 810 points, Bruno with 820 points, Jabra with 2,180 points, Kaku with 2,200 points, and finally that's Lucci's 4,000 points. Most of these people are masters of physical skills, Grandmaster Marine 6th form, and their physical fitness is naturally not bad. For Lin Yu, if he wants to become stronger quickly, defeating these strong men is the best way. As his level gets higher and higher, there is no benefit to Lin Yu in defeating some ordinary guys. It is simply thankless. Besides, the Water City is a famous shipbuilding base. There is a famous shipbuilding company there, and the chairman of this company, Ace Bagu, is the apprentice of the legendary shipbuilder Tom. Whiskey Peak is basically a gathering place for bounty hunters. The reason why so many people gather here is mainly because there are new pirates heading to the Grand Line, and the bounty hunters are watching these new people. Hunted. Lin Yu met Chow Ili Bani again, in the original restaurant. Chow Ili Bani came in carrying a huge bag and placed it in front of Lin Yu, the 3 giants of Whiskey Mountain. It turns out they are all poor people. Just now, Chow Ili Bani took advantage of the fact that the 3 parties were unprepared and took the opportunity to snatch a large amount of treasures. It's only Baidu worth 30 million belly. I wonder if I can afford a good ship. Chow Ili Bani looks like the housekeeper of the underworld pirates. Haha, no matter whether it's enough or not, let's go to the water capital first. Lin Yu said with a smile, and then he handed the permanent pointer to Chow Ili Bani. Permanent pointer pointing to the Water City. Chow Ili Bani on the side was also stunned. The permanent pointer, even on the Grand Route, is an extremely precious existence. Yes, we can't wait any longer. Let's go. Lin Yu stood up and said. After Lin Yu's ship sailed away from Whiskey Peak, the news was quickly spread by someone using a phone bug. Huang Quan Lin Yu. He has come out of Whiskey Peak. The Kingdom of Sand, somewhere in the Sea of Alabasta. A marine battleship floats on the sea. Finally here. The T-Dolphin held a cigar in its mouth, looking impatient. Huang Quan Lin Yu has sunk 4 large battleships. Sir, Do you want to transfer the battleships from the nearby marine base? An adjutant asked. No need. I'm just a little brat. Cha Do waved his hand indifferently. The storm is coming. When the T-Dolphin was waiting hard on the sea not far from Alabasta, he never imagined that Lin Yu would actually follow the permanent pointer and go straight to the water capital. This T-Dolphin is destined to be lonely in Alabasta. On the sea, the ship flying the underworld pirate flag was still moving quickly even if it didn't open its sails. On the bow of the ship, Chow Elibani stood there, with a group of members of the pirate group behind her also discussing this matter. This small boat did not set sail, but its speed was slightly faster than setting sail. As a rope on the bow of the ship was straightened, a thin white line appeared on the sea. Lin Yu pulled the boat and swam on the water. The powerful physical strength caused this huge ship to break through the water and speed towards the sea. Lin Yu was completely submerged in the water. His legs, arms, and even all the muscles in his body were exerting force. After a while, he surfaced for air. This is Lin Yu's practice method. Swimming is a great way to exercise. Coupled with Lin Yu's current physical strength, if he continues to train on the ship, with his current physical strength, it is estimated that this ship, which is already dilapidated, will be broken into pieces by him in a short time. Dragging a big boat around is obviously the best choice for exercising and getting familiar with strength. The first thing is to exercise enough. Even with Lin Yu's current strength, if he wants to tow this big ship away, he still needs to put all his efforts into it. This kind of intense training allowed Lin Yu to better control his soaring strength during this period. More importantly, the power of the devil fruit stored in the body can be extracted in this way and integrated into every part of the body, including muscles, bones, internal organs, etc. This extracted power can also be used to adjust the imbalance of one's own attributes. It's like a clear spring water entering the body, automatically filling the sunken areas and bringing all aspects of the body to the same level. Strength, agility, endurance, and physique, these four attributes were unbalanced at the beginning, and now the balance has begun to appear. The balance of physical attributes makes Lin Yu feel very comfortable. If you want to truly have a strong body, it is necessary to have a balance in all aspects of the body, otherwise it will always be a partial and abnormal growth. Even, in order to increase the intensity of training, he completely wrapped his body with armed domineering energy. How long did the captain last today? A crew member asked from the deck. Another crew member pulled out a pocket watch. It's been over 6 hours. The crew members lamented. To be able to tow such a big ship through the water, our captain must be the reincarnation of Poseidon, right? It's really reassuring to have such a captain. In the midst of the discussion, Lin Yu jumped out of the sea and landed on the deck. Lin Yu's whole body was wet with sweat, and seawater flowed at the same time. A crew member immediately brought a chair and placed it behind Lin Yu. Lin Yu sat down on the chair and leaned on the back of the chair. Captain, drink water. Another pirate respectfully handed over a glass of water. Lin Yu took it and drank it in one gulp. Lin Yu panted and leaned back on the chair, closing his eyes to rest. Dragging the ship forward was also a huge drain on Lin Yu. Chow Elibani came over and asked, "Why do you have to work so hard?" Lin Yu opened his eyes and saw Bonnie's slim and graceful figure, as well as the small belly button exposed under her slender waist, and breathed out softly. That's because I want to become the strongest person in the world. The strongest man in the world. Joelle Bonnie bit her lower lip. What a fool. Do you really think you can dominate the world with your physical skills? Once the devil fruit in this world is deeply exploited, its power is simply devastating. Lin Yu didn't know what Chow Elibani was thinking. He took a breath and asked, "Where is this place?" Chow Elibani said softly, "According to our calculations, we are close to the water capital. We found a railway track wreckage on the seabed. This is something only found in the water capital. She is not good at sailing. In fact, Teoti girl has a rather careless temperament, so he cannot accurately judge the specific location and distance like a professional navigator." Lin Yu nodded. "I understand. No matter how he looks at it now, he needs a professional navigator." Unfortunately, in Lin Yu's impression, those excellent navigators have been taken advantage of by others. Even Nami of the East China Sea was taken away by the Straw Hat Pirates. Where to find a competent navigator? Lin Yu slowly recovered from fatigue and stood up. Forget it. No matter what, we have to change to a stronger ship first. Lin Yu sighed. After arriving in the Water City, first build a new ship, and then defeat the CP9 group. It is estimated that you can increase your strength and other attributes to more than 7,000 points. It was 7 times more than when he faced Akainu. At that time, even if he encounters another marine general, he will not be able to fight back. After the training, Lin Yu of course wanted to check the training effect. Host, Lin Yu. Strength LV3, 3299.4. Agility LV3, 3381.3. Endurance LV3, 3133.5. Physique LV3, 3216.8. Free attribute points, 000. Skill, fighting skill LV2, 89%. Shaving LV2, 98.2%. Iron LV2, 64%. Lanjiao LV2, 97.2%. Moonwalk LV2, 89.6%. Paper painting LV2, 74%. Fingergun LV2, 77.2%. Armed color domineering LV2, 69.3%. Informed and domineering LV2, 55.9%. Among the 6 marine styles, Lin Yu uses shaving and Lan Ko the most. These 2 are Lin Yu's most practical physical skills. Moonwalk is also used more often, but it is not as good as the previous 2. It's just a move. As for the 3 moves of iron block, paper painting, and finger gun, Lin Yu used relatively few. After putting aside the marine 6 styles, what Lin Yu values more is dominance. Both armed color hockey and seeing color hockey have been successfully upgraded to LV2. The perception range of seeing color hockey has been greatly increased, while armed color hockey completely wraps the body, which greatly reduces the consumption of physical strength, and also enhances many of its own abilities than before. Defense. From the perspective of basic attributes, the training effect during this period is very good, and the gaps in strength, agility, endurance, and physical fitness have become smaller and smaller. The thinking attributes are all above 3,000, which is the combination of physical qualities of 3,000 people. If such a power returned to Earth, it would probably have been dissected long ago, but in this world, it is not the strongest. Not to mention, there are other abilities in this world, such as devil fruits and Conqueror's dominance. According to legend, only those with the qualifications of a king can display Conqueror's domineering force. Lin Yu does not know whether he has the qualifications of a king and whether he can display Conqueror's domineering force. But he knew that Conqueror's domineering spirit was extremely domineering. With just a thought, he could make his opponent unconscious. This was definitely a huge advantage in battle. Lin Yu clenched his fists. He can't let up. At first glance, he seems to be powerful now, but this kind of strength is nothing compared to General Marine. He looked towards the horizon in the distance, where the sea and the sky met. Freedom requires strong strength to support. Lin Yu looked up at the sky. He jumped. Moonwalk. Lin Yu took a dozen moonwalks in a row. Moonwalk consumes a lot of physical strength and requires high muscle control. Because moonwalk does not really create petals out of thin air, but uses extremely strong force and extremely fast speed to stamp on the air and squeeze the air into petals. The practice of moonwalk allows Lin Yu to better control his own power and better display his strength. According to the description in the original work, the Dao power of an ordinary soldier is 10 points, so Rob Lucci's Dao power reaches 4,000 points, and this is assuming that Rob Lucci has not transformed. That is to say, Lin Yu may not be able to win the opponent steadily now. Because based on his physical fitness, Lin Yu calculated that the physical fitness of an ordinary person is about 1 point, while the physical fitness of an elite marine soldier is about 10 points. In other words, although Dao Li does not directly correspond to the power system, it is still closely related. According to Lin Yu's calculations, his current strength should be between 3,500 and 4,000, which is lower than Rob Lucci. Fortunately, Lin Yu has been hiding in the dark. Although Rob Lucci is also hiding in the secret, Lin Yu knows the people of CP9. If he wants to defeat Rob Lucci, he still needs to do it step by step. After defeating CP9, his attributes will be greatly improved. Lin Yu has already thought of this plan. Of course, the most important thing is to build a strong pirate ship. Lin Yu flew hundreds of meters into the air and drew an arc in the air. Standing at an altitude of 100 meters, you can see as far as the eye can see. Vaguely, Lin Yu saw the end of the horizon, and a train was speeding on the sea with billowing smoke. Isn't this the sea train? The emergence of the sea train means that the water capital is close at hand. This world is really weird. Even steam engines can be built, which are enough to pull trains and trains. However, if you want to sail on the sea, you mainly rely on sails. Although there are various advanced high-tech weapons, most of Marine's weapons are swords, guns, swords, halberds and muskets. Lin Yu looked at the sea train whizzing by in the distance. After thinking wildly for a moment, he withdrew his gaze and plunged into the ship below. Many crew members looked at Lin Yu falling from the sky with reverence in their eyes. Being able to go to the sky and the sea, with such a captain by my side, I really feel safe. The City of Water. This is Venice in the world of One Piece, the city on the sea. At the same time, this is also the place where shipbuilding technology is most developed in the entire Great Route. Many pirates and powerful teams like to come here to buy ships. The mayor of the water city of the Seven Islands of Water is also the boss of Carrera Company, the shipbuilding company on the island. At the same time, he is also the disciple of shipwright Tom. It took him 8 years to merge the 7 shipyards on the 7 islands of water and reach an agreement with the world government, making Carrera the official shipbuilding company of the world government. This is why the reason why the government dare not touch the iceberg. But on the surface, this is the territory of the world government after all. As a pirate ship, Lin Yu naturally cannot dock at the official port of the water city openly. This is related to the face of the world government, but if he goes around to the water city, the rear is different. After all, the water city itself started out by building ships, so it was inevitable that it would have to face some pirates. Pirates are all very aware of this unspoken rule, because most pirates don't like trouble, so most pirates will abide by this unspoken rule and dock at a small port behind the water city. Lin Yu is also a person who is afraid of trouble. He came to the water capital this time not to challenge the world government, but to buy a new big ship and to get some benefits from CP9. The pirate ship Lin Yu was on was slowly approaching the harbor. The port was filled with ships with pirate flags. After all, this is an era of great pirates. When his boat slowly sailed into the dock, the entire dock was boiling. It's the underworld pirates. That's the new South Blue pirate Lin Yu who has a bounty of 300 million. It is said that some time ago, Huang Quan Lin Yu killed a Marine headquarters lieutenant general and sank 4 large battleships. That's why he was offered a bounty of 300 million Baileys. The newcomers of this class are really amazing, but they have only just set foot on the Grand Route. How come they have already arrived in the water capital? Could it be that they have a permanent pointer to the water city? Many pirates looked at Lin Yu and others and started talking. Recently, 2 major incidents occurred at sea. Among them is Luffy of the Straw Hat Pirates, who defeated the 7 warlords of the sea, and became famous in his battle with Crocodile. The other one is about Lin Yu. Now, Lin Yu is on the cusp of the storm. A reward of 300 million is no longer something that even cats and dogs are eligible for. Of course, they were not too afraid of the Wonquan pirates entering the port. Among the pirates who have survived to this day, how many are simple? How many are cowards? The rest of you, guard this ship for me. When the ship docked, Lin Yu gave orders to several crew members, and then boarded the shore with Bonnie. Although there are many pirates gathered in the 7 water capitals, there are not many people who dare to come here to cause trouble, and there is no need. In addition to the fact that it is very close to Judicial Island, there is another reason, that is, there is the world's #1 shipbuilding company here, and pirates do not dare to offend this shipbuilding company because they all want to sail good ships to the sea. After getting ashore, Lin Yu saw sweaty workers carrying various squares and round logs in the factory area behind the residential area of Water Capital. Where is dock #1? Lin Yu casually found a foreman, took out a coin, flicked his fingers, and the copper coin made a crisp sound like emerald. The staff member glanced at the coins in Lin Yu's hand and said quickly, "Just over there on the south shore, all the way along the coast." Clang! Lin Yu flicked his fingers, threw the copper coin to the worker, and then walked towards the south bank with Bonnie. Along the way, Lin Yu saw many semi-finished ships and tens of thousands of workers busy at work. This factory area is the territory of Carrera Company. In the Water City, Carrera Company is a very large shipbuilding company that monopolizes the entire Water City shipbuilding industry. Many of Marine's warships are produced by this company. Soon, Carrera Company's number 1 dock appeared in front of Lin Yu. Oh ho ho, hello two guests. This is the best foreman in our Carrera shipyard. I don't know if you want a boat. We can build many types of boats here. Only you can't imagine it. Without us it can't be done. A burly man wearing a blue windbreaker with red hair came forward and smiled at Lin Yu standing aside. Lin Yu recognized the guy with goggles on his head at a glance. His name is Barry, and he is one of the 5 foremen of Carrera Company's No. 1 dockyard. After Lin Yu thought for a while, he said directly, "So, if I want to build a ship with a length of about 40 meters and a speed-focused ship, how much will it cost?" This. Barry rolled his eyes and quickly replied, 50 million Baileys. Hey, Barry, do you know? You are trying to trick people. At this moment, a man with a white dove standing on his shoulder came forward and said, "Sir, this ship you are talking about, the cost is about 12 million Baileys, and it is still made of red oak. If better materials are used, the price will be higher." Quote. Lin Yu grinned and showed a smile. The person coming is none other than Rob Lucci, and this is also the purpose of his trip. The secret assassin organization second only to CP0 in the hands of the world government, but at this time, he does not look like an assassin at all. On the contrary, he still had a bright smile on his face, and the dove on his shoulder also laughed, which was not what a killer should look like at all. Lin Yu looked in the other direction. A guy who looks very similar to Usopp, but has a square nose. This person is none other than Shanfang Kaku, second only to Rob Lucci in CP9, who possesses the fruit ability of the Niu Niu fruit in the form of a giraffe. Lin Yu's eyes fell on the two of them. Rob Lucci and Kaku were both shocked. Lin Yu's performance caught their attention, and both of them were shocked. Although Lin Yu was wearing a hat and sunglasses, both Rob Lucci and Kaku recognized the man in front of them at a glance. It was Lin Yu, the leader of the underworld pirates. 12 million Baileys. Lin Yu turned around. When he confirmed that the target was still in the Carrera group, he felt a lot more relaxed. Barry looked depressed. He had once again lost all his belongings. He originally wanted to find an opportunity to make another fortune, but Lucci ruined it. What Barry dislikes the most is Rob Lucci. This guy always looks righteous and upright. When setting prices for customers, he is very strict and will not get any kickbacks at all. With such a partner, when will he get rich? Barry said with some dissatisfaction. Hey, young man, this price is already very cheap. If you don't want to, get out of here. Oops, why are you so rude when you speak? Behind Lin Yu, Chow Ellie Bonnie pointed at Barry and yelled angrily. Bonnie was wearing a pair of hot pants, which exposed her slender legs, and a t-shirt that couldn't even cover her navel, exposing her slim waist. Barry, who was so arrogant just now, suddenly turned red, jumped back a few steps, pointed at Chow Ellie Bonnie and stammered, You. What are you? Joelle Bonnie put her hands on her hips and stared at Barry with an angry look on her face. How can you dress like this, you shameless woman? Son of a fool. What nonsense are you talking about? Chow Ellie Bonnie was so angry that she stamped her feet and stepped forward to teach this guy a lesson. Lin Yu smiled and pulled her behind him. Barry had a great reaction to women's revealing clothing, which Lin Yu could see from the original work. In the original work, Barry once called Nami a shameless woman, and the Square Sisters also laughed at her and said she was a prude. Ha ha ha, it's neither expensive nor expensive, it's simply cheap. Lin Yu said, First of all, I have to explain that the ship I want is very special. Ha ha, let me tell you, our Carrera Company's shipyard is the strongest in the world. There is no ship that we can't build, even in ancient times. When Barry said this, he suddenly covered your mouth. Too bad, I almost gave it away. Kaku and Rob Lucci looked at each other. You're talking about ancient weapon, Pluton. The reason why they infiltrated Carrera Company was for Pluton's drawings. After hearing what Barry said, a strange color flashed in Lin Yu's eyes. He knew where Pluton's blueprints were, but he had no intention of grabbing them. Because what Lin Yu wants most now is his own strength. Lin Yu believes that as long as he continues to practice, his body will become the most powerful weapon in the world. Barry quickly changed the subject and said, "Our Carrera company can build any ship." Lin Yu touched his chin, thought for a while and said, "Do you have any materials for making boats using Baoshu atom?" Baoshu atom. Lin Yu knows very well that this is the best shipbuilding material. One Piece Roger's boat is made of Baoshu atom. Puff. Not to mention Barry, Rob Lucci, Kaku and others next to him also spit out a mouthful of water. Treasure tree. Atom. Do you know how much these woods cost? I just asked if there was one. Lin Yu said with his arms crossed. Barry touched his head and said hesitantly, "Under normal circumstances, we would not hoard such valuable wood. In fact, it is impossible to hoard such valuable wood. If others find out, I bet that our Carrera company will be targeted by those thieves. I am afraid that the first half of the Grand Route will be focused on our company." Quote. Barry simply spread his hands. Kaku curled his lips. If Carrera company really had such a precious treasure, the first person he thought of guarding against was this gambler. But, I heard that in the next few days, at the auction, there will be a branch of a 40-meter-long precious atom tree, which will be auctioned as the finale. However, I want to remind you, if you don't have 1 or 2 billion, then don't even think about it, that thing is a bottomless pit. Lin Yu and Bonnie looked at each other. In fact, ship materials like Baoshu atom are priceless treasures anywhere. But now that we are here and we bump into each other by chance, we naturally have to fight for it. Sir, in fact, most ships are not made of Baoshu atom materials. With our Carrera company's shipbuilding technology, even with ordinary materials, we can build the strongest ship in the world. Quote. A smile appeared on Rob Lucci's lips. Understood, Mr. Rob Lucci. Lin Yu showed an enigmatic smile, and then walked out with Chow Eli Bonnie. But this voice came directly into Rob Lucci's ears, making him stunned. Why does he know my name? Rob Lucci's eyes turned cold and he looked at Kaku. Lucci vaguely felt that the person in front of him was probably here for CP9. Who is he? 4 emperors, men, or the Revolutionary Army? Rob Lucci pondered for a moment. He no longer thought about whether Lin Yu was a newcomer. In his opinion, Lin Yu should be related to the Revolutionary Army. Only the Revolutionary Army can uncover the members of their CP9 in such a short period of time. But, why would he say it? What is the other party's purpose? In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Rob Lucci's mind. Hey, Lucci. Barry suddenly came over. This guy looks very rich. How dare he take advantage of Adam, otherwise? Barry, go ahead on your own. Rob Lucci shrugged, leaned against a pile of wood, and yawned lazily. But let me remind you, you may not be that guy's opponent. Kaku. Barry's eyes turned and fell on another person. Barry, I'm not a gangster. Kaku grinned and said, business has not been very good recently. At this time, in the number 1 dock, Lin Yu and Chow Eli Bonnie had already left here. I didn't expect that I would be so lucky that I could even meet someone like Adam Baoshu. The size is also suitable, but maybe I don't have enough money. Chow Eli Bonnie has of course heard the name, Treasure Tree Adam, but this is not important. What is important is that there is no money. Lin Yu smiled, shook his head, and said, how can it be not enough? There is more money, and there are more pirates on the Grand Route. Do you still want to rob? Nonsense. I am a pirate. Have the fights between pirates ever stopped? At best, it's just black and white. But at this time, there was silence in Alabasta in the Kingdom of Sand. The sea was calm. A huge marine warship was anchored there, its sails had been furled, and it was motionless on the calm sea. Beside the side of the boat, the T-Dolphin is holding a fishing rod and waiting leisurely for the fish to take the bait. Occasionally, a gust of wind blows, and the fishing line on the fishing rod sways slightly, causing ripples on the sea surface. Shijaji squinted his eyes and hummed a tune. Report. A low voice sounded on the silent sea. Even the fish waiting to be baited ran away. Cha Do was obviously unhappy. He turned around suddenly and was about to scold his men for disturbing his good mood, but saw an adjutant running over in a hurry. Lieutenant General, news came from the water capital. The whereabouts of Huang Quan Lin Yu have been found there. He is in the water capital now. Water City. Shijaji stood up immediately. How could this happen? Why would Huang Quan Lin Yu appear in the water capital? According to the instructions of the record pointer, if you want to reach the water capital, you still need to pass through the Kingdom of Sand, and then pass through other islands. Shijiaji suddenly stopped. In addition to record pointers, there are also permanent pointers. Their marine headquarters has permanent pointers to most of the islands. Shijiaji's face darkened. He thought that this mission could be completed easily, but he didn't expect that he had to wait in the Kingdom of Sand for more than half a month before receiving news that the other party had arrived in the water capital. Even at the speed of a warship, it would take at least 1 to 2 weeks to reach the water capital. If the other party leaves the water capital at this time, he will have no choice but to run behind Lin Yu. Lieutenant General, according to the news we have received, Lin Yu and his group are going to the water capital to purchase a new ship, so they may stay there for a while. After hearing these words, Shijiaji's face looked better. Turn around immediately and head towards the water capital. Yes, everyone responded in unison. Not long after, the sails of the huge battleship fell down. Then, a strong wind blew up. The sea that was originally calm was now turbulent. All the marine officers looked at Vice Admiral T. Dolphin standing on the bow of the ship, and they all showed a bit of awe. The fruit that can control the air, this alone is enough to make the T. Dolphin among the top masters in the world. At the same time, in the number 1 dock of the Water City, the Carrera Group. In a small room, Rob Lucci is talking to Kaku. There's something wrong with that guy Lin Yu. I sent someone to test it out. Rob Lucci said lightly. Then I'll try this guy's strength tonight. Kaku said coldly. No, you can't go. Our mission has not been completed yet, and we must not be exposed. Rob Lucci stood up and said calmly. Contact Jabra and ask him to test out who Lin Yu is. A place like the Water City naturally attracts everyone's attention. Lin Yu's appearance in the water capital was no secret, and Marine quickly got the news. And just when the Lieutenant General T. Dolphin who was chasing Lin Yu was rushing towards the water capital at full speed. Everyone in CP9 also became nervous because of Lin Yu's appearance, especially Rob Lucci, who felt something was wrong with Lin Yu's gaze. Back on the ship, Lin Yu was ready to make a fortune. During this trip to Whiskey Peak, he got the treasures of 3 local forces, but if he wanted to buy Adam the treasure tree, he had to exchange these treasures for cash. After selling the treasure, the assets of the Wangquan pirates have exceeded 30 million Baileys. Chow Eli Bani looked at the box of banknotes and said, we only have so much money now, and I'm afraid it's not enough to buy the Adam branch of the precious tree. Joe Eli Bani is very aware of the preciousness of the precious tree Adam. Lin Yu threw the box of banknotes into the cabin. Hey, there will be enough one day, and it won't be too late. He disdained to rob civilians, but he had no psychological burden when it came to robbing pirates. If one is not enough, then rob several pirate groups. No one knows how many pirate groups there are around here. Lin Yu was too lazy to bother, because he knew that behind the Water City, there was a port where pirates gathered. In just one day, Lin Yu started his killing. Sweep the pirate groups from all directions. A total of 6 pirate groups were wiped out, and countless smaller pirate groups were defeated. In fact, Lin Yu only wanted money at the beginning and had no intention of killing anyone. But unexpectedly, just after Lin Yu looted 3 pirate groups, these pirate groups actually colluded with several other pirate groups, secretly spreading the news that Lin Yu wanted to kill them all, and joined forces to join forces. Get up and cause trouble for Lin Yu. The results speak for themselves. The pirate group gathered together is not strong. If they want to rely on their numerical advantage, they are not Lin Yu's opponent at all. Lin Yu went on a killing spree on the coast, sinking several pirate ships one after another, dyeing the sea water on the coast blood red. This group of improvised mobs was immediately defeated. This incident also attracted the attention of the local marine, but after all, it was a fight within the pirate group, and Marine did not intervene, and Marine also liked to hear about this kind of thing. In CP9, Rob Lucci became more and more curious about Lin Yu's background and his purpose. After wiping out a group of pirates, Lin Yu had nearly 300 million belly in his hands. Gains other than money. This time he wiped out a large number of pirates, causing his strength to skyrocket again. This killing increased Lin Yu's average attributes by more than 300 points. The pirates on the Grand Line were stronger than South Blue, but with Lin Yu's current strength, killing these minions did not let Lin Yu has made great progress. But something is better than nothing. Even Lin Yu felt a little regretful that there were too few pirate groups gathered at the port. If the number of pirates were several times greater, Lin Yu's strength might be able to improve faster, but in general, defeating this group of weaklings would not be as rewarding as defeating a strong one. Such an improvement may not even be 1/10 of what defeats Rob Lucci. Today, Lin Yu is considered a first-class strong man in this world. Even Shichibukai, he is confident that he can compete with him. Under such circumstances, it is even more difficult for Lin Yu to grow in strength. Captain, there's still an hour until the auction. Chow Ili Bani reminded Lin Yu and pushed open Lin Yu's door at the same time. In the past few days, he had already inquired about the time and place of the auction of the Adam's branches of the precious tree. This kind of precious wood will naturally be put up for auction, and it will be the grand finale. Let's go. Lin Yu smiled lightly. Lin Yu was wearing a shirt, a hat, and a pair of sunglasses. Lin Yu was a person who was very afraid of trouble. He was also famous in the water capital. After all, he defeated so many people just after arriving in the water capital. If there are many pirate groups, if they directly enter the center of the water city, they may cause panic. Lin Yu and Chow Ili Bani travel on a bullfish, an animal used as an amphibious vehicle. After passing this wide waterway, a huge building appeared in front. This is a place in the water city that specializes in lumber auctions. As a giant in the shipbuilding industry, the water city has also become one of the few commercial centers in the world, and many large caravans will buy wood in this city. Lin Yu and Chow Ili Bani walked into the building after paying 1,000 belly. When Lin Yu and Bani came here, a lot of people had gathered here. Most of them were wealthy merchants and nobles from various countries, and of course there was no shortage of pirates among them. In the auction room, there are many auction items on display, and among these auction items, the most eye-catching one is a huge piece of wood that is 40 meters long. You know, this is a branch of the precious tree Adam. No matter how hard or flexible it is far superior to ordinary steel. Could it be said that the branches of this precious tree Adam are the branches used to build the Wanli Sunshine in the original novel? Looking at the Adam branch, the most eye-catching treasure tree, from a distance, doubts flashed in Lin Yu's eyes. This is not impossible. After all, the Wanli Sunshine was built in the Water City, and it is not too far from the location of the Straw Hat Pirates. Of course, even if the Wanli Sunshine was built with the branches of this precious Adam tree, Lin Yu would never let go of such a precious wood. Soon, the auction began, and the auctioneer, dressed in formal attire, walked onto the stage. First, some general cargo worth several million belly. More than 2 hours passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, he occasionally encountered something that Lin Yu was interested in. Lin Yu glanced at it and ignored it. In fact, not all ships are made of precious wood. Many people buy precious wood to make furniture for the nobles and rich. As for those precious timbers specially used for shipbuilding, few people would bid for them. Finally, all the previous items were auctioned, and the last item in the auction was a piece of dark red wood, exuding an ancient atmosphere. Finally, the most important moment has arrived. The man in a suit and leather suit who presided over the auction had talked about the previous auction for several hours, but he still looked excited and pointed at the last piece of wood. There once was an island that experienced countless wars. Although the island was destroyed and torn apart by the war, and the city turned into ruins, there was one tree that survived, standing tenaciously amidst the ruins. There are only a few types of trees like this in the world, and the strongest one among them is the Adam tree. That's right. Today's grand auction item is the branch of the Adam tree, and it's here now. The bottom price is 100 million Baileys. When the man in a suit shouted out 100 million Baileys, the entire auction house fell silent. Only a few people were whispering, but no one bid. Just when the auctioneer was a little anxious, fearing that Adam's branch would not be auctioned, someone finally called out the price. 100 million Baileys. A wealthy businessman sitting at the front reported the starting price. 110 million. Another bid was made. They are all businessmen. In the eyes of businessmen, if Adam's branch is sold to the right person, it will definitely be worth more than 100 million belly. Several businessmen talked to each other and quickly raised the price to 150 million. This price has scared off many businessmen. The price is too high. It is a big risk to buy it. Whether it can be resold is another matter. If you take a photo of Adam Baoshu and get intercepted halfway, that will be the real deal. I want to cry but have no tears. 200 million. At this moment, a loud shout sounded. Lin Yu also started to call out the price. The price was directly raised from 150 million Baileys to 200 million Baileys. This scene shocked many nobles and businessmen present. The price of 200 million Bay is already beyond what they can afford. At the same time, some pirates who were eyeing Baoshu Adam but had no money or were reluctant to part with money also narrowed their eyes and looked at Lin Yu. But even though Lin Yu was wearing sunglasses and a hat, the pirates recognized him at a glance. After all, the smell of blood on the dock has not dissipated. It's him. At this moment, a cry of surprise came from a distance. Huang Quan Lin Yu. The pirates all looked at each other. If this top-quality boat wood is bought by Lin Yu, it means that they have no chance to meet Baoshu Adam. Go grab Lin Yu. Is there any mistake? Maybe someone dares to take Lin Yu's idea, but it will definitely not be them. Soon, everyone knew who was bidding. Huang Quan Lin Yu. The face of the man in suit and leather shoes who was hosting the auction changed slightly. He knew that there were many pirates here, but he never expected that there would be pirates who would directly demand 200 million for the branch of Adam tree. There were too many variables in this. After all, he is a pirate and can do anything. 1 second, 2 seconds. There were whispers among the crowd, but no one bid any more. 200 million Baileys. Deal. The host smashed the hammer. When the hammer fell, a staff member walked up to Lin Yu and bowed. Sir, please come over and accept the goods. Okay. Lin Yu nodded. He stood up calmly and followed closely. It wasn't until Lin Yu walked in carrying a huge box that the person in charge of the auction house finally felt relieved. No matter who the other party is, as long as they can afford it. On the pier, under the greedy eyes of countless people, the huge branch of the Adam tree was lifted up by Lin Yu and thrown into the water. The Adam branch of the treasure tree is worth 200 million belly. Anyone would be jealous, but they still clearly remember Lin Yu's killing a few days ago, so most people just watched from a distance. With the boat made from the branches of Adam the treasure tree, I'm afraid it will be difficult for Marine to find him on the vast sea. Haha, first don't think Marine will allow him to make Baoshu Adam into a ship. Maybe their army is already on the way. In the distance, many people looked at Lin Yu's boat and talked about it. Lin Yu didn't care at all about the eyes of these people. After pushing the ship into the sea, he ordered the handyman on the ship to loosen the cable, then raise the sails and anchor, and slowly sailed out of the port. Going somewhere? Joel Bonny asked. Carrera. Lin Yu shook his head. No. There are CP9 spies in Carrera Company. How can Lin Yu trust the ship built for him by Carrera Company? After all, after he went to the number 1 dockyard to meet Lucci, Rob Lucci had probably started sending people to investigate his whereabouts. Lin Yu said, let's go to Frankie's dismantling house. Frankie is the designer of the Sunshine in the original work and the person who built it. His skills are indeed very good. As for whether the other party will refuse, Lin Yu really hasn't thought about this issue. When our ship is built, we can move on, into the new world. New world. Chow Ili Bani looked at Lin Yu's back. This period of time was the most peaceful period for Chow Ili Bani. After she escaped from the world government, she was chased by Marine every day. Even that time she met Akainu, he might have gone there for her. But with Lin Yu, she didn't have to worry about anything. If she encountered danger, this man would protect her. Maybe by following this person, you can really get a free life in the new world. Just when Lin Yu was about to go to Frankie and ask him to help him build a pirate ship, suddenly a small boat was speeding towards Lin Yu. We seem to be being targeted. Joel Bonny noticed the boat approaching quickly. Is Marine here? No. It seems like a pirate. Lin Yu glanced at the ship, with a look of surprise on his face. He didn't expect that pirates would attack him here. But when he saw clearly who was coming, he understood. Jabra, a user with devil fruit abilities in the form of an Inu fruit wolf. Lin Yu grinned and said, he's from CP9. Chow Ili Bani's heart sank. CP9. For most people, all they know is the intelligence organizations from CP1 to CP8. As for the organization CP9, most people don't know about it, but Chow Elibani knows everything about the internal organization of world government. Jabra didn't realize that he had been found out. When he saw Lin Yu's pirate ship stopped, he knew that he had been exposed. However, he didn't care. Lucci, you deserve to die. Jabra cursed in his heart. If Jabra was asked to rank the people he hates, then Rob Lucci would definitely be ranked first, and CP9's Commander Spangdam would be ranked second. However, because Lucci is the strongest among CP9, Jabra will obey the order to test Lin Yu. Although this caused great harm to his self-esteem, he still went. There is another thing that makes Jabra very depressed, that is, he has been on vacation during this time, pursuing Catherine, the waitress in the catering class on Judiciary Island. Just when the relationship between the two is progressing, Lucci immediately asks him to go perform tasks. Jabra cursed as he approached Lin Yu's boat. Haha. Under Lin Yu's astonished eyes, Jabra stopped the boat, with a sly smile on his face. Is this Captain Lin Yu? I am the #1 shipbuilder in the Water City. Take your plan, take out Baoshu Adam, and I guarantee you can sell it for a good price. Ale, I spilled the beans in excitement. I promise to build you a good boat. With that said, Jabra stretched out a hand. Jabra is a guy with a very low IQ and always loves to fool people. Not to mention that Lin Yu had already read the original work. Even if he hadn't, he would never believe this person's words. One of the members of CP9, Jabra, is in the form of a canine fruit wolf. Am I right? Lin Yu looked at Jabra and slowly said something that stunned Jabra. Jabra was shocked. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.